on. And it's sort of, I have to kind of explain to people, it's sort of like that first science fiction movie you saw where they went into hyperspace and they had all the lines and they said, all right, we're hitting hyperspace, and that's what it's like. As soon as we take off, with the exception of the exact area that I'm looking down the track, everything else is a complete blur. And on top of that, when I hit the parachutes, it's almost a negative 7 or 8 Gs. So there's a lot going on in that short amount of time. And on top, you think, at my right toe, I've got 10,000 horsepower. It's an incredible feeling, but it happens very fast. So you have to be on top of everything to do with the car for that 3.5 seconds. Our season's good. We lost the heartbreaker in 2012, lost the championship by 2 points, and it came down to myself and my teammate, and we battled back and forth. And we have what's called the countdown to the championship, and it's much like the chase in NASCAR or playoffs. And it's the last 6 races of the season. Everything is reset in the top 10. They take the top 10, they reset them. So really, going into it, if you're number 10, you still got a shot at a championship when they reset the points. And you battle it for 6 races. It's a 6-race shootout for a playoff, and the winner is declared the champion. So it's a little different than the old days when you battled all season long for a championship, and you just got to be good at the right time. You got to be top 10 going into Indianapolis, and then you got to be the best for that 6 races. And last year we set the world's quickest run in history, and only the second run under 4 seconds. Ran 3.96 seconds, Englishtown, New Jersey. This weekend, the conditions here on Friday night could see those same type of conditions. So we're looking to maybe better that, and there's a lot of other teams can as well. So season's good up to this point. I think we're 4th in the points now. Hopefully by the time this gets posted, we're back up to number 1. But we got a race car that can be number 1 at any time, and it's a great team, and I'm very lucky and very blessed to have a team around me that can put together a car like our Dodge car. You know, coming to New Hampshire has been a long time coming. I've never been here. Only guys like John Force and some of the guys that have been out here for a while have match raced here a long time ago. It's a small track that after this weekend, I guarantee we'll be back and they'll have a bigger parking lot, bigger tower, bigger everything. Because this weekend I can already tell that the traffic's out both sides. The grandstands had to be extended for reserve seating, which is all good. It's a great racetrack. The surface itself is concrete. The whole track is a concrete surface, so that is good for us, especially when the heat comes, because the track may heat up, but if you have asphalt, as a lot of iRacing people know, the difference between getting on asphalt and concrete is huge, and the concrete will uphold the heat better. And when you're talking about 10,000 horsepower and trying to plant those Goodyear tires on the ground for 4 seconds and not lose traction, concrete's important. But I'm glad to be here. I mean, I've raced 16 years, and I've always read about New Hampshire and what it was like in the old days at New England Dragway. And I just never had a chance to come here. Reading about the snake and the mongoose and Jungle Jim and all the guys on the East Coast, and being a kid from California, it's cool to finally be here. Yeah, the difference, with our cars, especially compared to other motorsports, is the unbelievable G-forces we get, positive and negative. Like I said before, it's upwards of 6 Gs during a run, and can be as high with 2 parachutes out as it can be as high as negative 7 Gs, negative 8 Gs. It puts a tremendous toll on your body, as do other motorsports, but ours happens such a short amount of time that I just work on keeping my body in shape, especially my neck and my shoulder muscles. They go through a lot, and your reaction times are probably the most important thing. That, as everybody knows growing up, reading about drag racing, you have the Christmas tree or the lights coming down, the reaction time is probably the most important thing. So you try to stay on top of that, and you've got things that can test you. For me, I don't necessarily sit and do a reaction time tester. For me, I work on hand-eye coordination, and the best thing I have found is simulation racing. And iRacing, that's why I was so excited about when it came out, the chance to get in a Formula One car, which on a track that the car is moving around, there's no better tool to be able to work on your hand-eye coordination, listening to the car, feeling the car, having your hands do what they're supposed to do, split second. So there's a lot of things that I try to work on, but mainly it's just hand-eye coordination and reaction times. My stem's not, it doesn't move, it's not extravagant. It's actually a seat setup that I actually bought used off of a guy that lived up in Los Angeles, and I'd been doing simulation back when they first came out with the IndyCar game. So when Dave, I knew after playing the Grand Prix Legends game, I mean that was the game of all games. For me, an upgrade was a nice setup that was a nice seat with a nice steering wheel and as good a monitor as I could afford at the time. And now you see these ones that move around and stuff, and that's not what I have at home. I've got a nice, simple setup, but it does the job for me. And I can adjust my seat, and the best part is I can adjust it so when people come over and we'll have a party at the house, or people to visit, or friends just come over, I mean, they gravitate right out into that thing, and I'll put them on with maybe a cup car at a nice, easy track. And then as they get more and more cocky, I'll move them into other vehicles. But for me, when I get in iRacing, one of my favorites is the Silver Crown car on a fast, high-banked oval. I just love the twitchiness of the car and having to feel the seat of your pants and feel the car and listen to the car. And it's one of the most exciting. You find yourself holding your breath a lot of times, lap to lap, and sometimes going down the straightaway going, breathe, breathe. And that's probably what it's like in real person racing those cars, but it's fun getting a bunch of guys together and getting on there or getting into a race. And I'm more of an open wheel guy, so I love the open wheel stuff. But it's a big part of my life. When I go home, there's always time. There's family time, but there's iRacing time. And it's got to be, my wife knows I got to get on there and I got to get that out of my system, because if I don't, I'm going to be a grump. Yeah, the Pro Race of Champions for me, it's sort of, I circle it on my calendar because it's a big deal to me, and it's something I want to make sure that I'm around when the announcement's made of when it is and you get the invite. To me, it's sort of like getting invited to the Prelude to the Dream, which is a race I've raced with Tony Stewart and all those guys for several years. It's just something I look forward to. You get to kind of test yourself with some of the best drivers in the world, and I know a lot of them spend a lot more time than I do on it. I know a lot of them probably have better setups than I do. But it's still the fact that I'm racing with some of the best racers and from different types of auto racing. And the biggest thing is guys always give me crap when we're in there, jokingly, because it's a tight-fit fraternity of race car drivers. No matter what you drive, it's still a fraternity. But I'm always getting jabbed no matter what kind of racing I go do. The only thing I know how to do is go straight. So it's funny how, I get in there, but man, it's like, I tell the family, don't bug me. It's just as serious. You can't come ask me questions on it. I can't pause it. And, I get ready for this thing. It's like a serious race for me. So I had a pretty good time. I just try to finish. I know I'm not going to win, but I still have a blast. And just, it's really funny because you'll find yourself after the race is like, woo! Like you're kind of shaking, like, man, or maybe in the middle of a caution or something, and you're like, so it gets exciting. Yeah, as soon as last year's Pro Race of Champions is over, I'm already ready for next year. I guess I need to upgrade something, and I think it's starting to be, I need to upgrade my time on iRacing, because I found myself on there for qualifying thinking, man, that was a great lap, and then looking on the list, I'm like mid-pack. I'm like, God, what do I got to do to pick it up? But that's motorsports, that's auto racing, that's how you dig to find those little fractions of a second here or there. And it's such a cool deal because I got a lot of friends and family and a lot of fans that tune in to watch it. And it's sort of like they're watching a race. They see me in my Napa truck or car or whatever I'm racing on there, and they're able to watch their other favorite racers, and it's just a lot of fun. Advice for anybody new to iRacing is don't overextend yourself. You don't need anything fancy, but make sure you get good equipment, and you're not going to be the best, and you're not going to get the best license right off the bat. It's all about the journey. And like anything else, you work your way up, and that's the funnest part of having to do good in races, not make mistakes, don't wreck people, and do your best. and that's the way you're going to progress, just like you would in real life. You're not going to go out there and jump in a Williams Formula One car as a rookie driver, because let's face it, you got to be very good to race some of these cars at that level, and that's what iRacing is all about. It's about making yourself better, working your way up from a car to a better car, making your lap times better, and most importantly, keeping your reputation good as you would in real life. If you go to race anything, I don't care if it's a club or you're a NASCAR driver or you're a Formula One driver, you want to be.
The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing.com, has officially begun. It's all in control of Brad Davies in that 11 machine. Green flag flies. He's damn near banged up, though. Now the 93 is going to push the 4 to Brian Day all the way up the wall. 4 wide, down the super stretch, going to the turn. And now the 93-39, the 3 machine goes around. Big trouble in the back. It's the race for the win up front.
Look behind him. They're 3 and 4 wide, trying to make a push to the front as the field gains speed in turn number 1. Kenny Humphrey, if he can rip it back to the start-finish line, will win here at Daytona.
7 laps to go.
Oh,
As you love it.
here we go.
You love it. The 0-1 gets around. The 5 gets around. Big show.
The road to $10,000 rolls the dice this evening at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. This is round number 2 of 17 on the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing.com, and we are getting ready for 167 laps around this tricky 1.5-mile oval. Tim Terry, Tony Stevens, Joe Cortez here to call all the action for you. And Tony, we've seen some races here before that have been won on fuel mileage by rolling the dice and gambling a little bit. We've seen some races here won by pure domination. Last year's winner, Marcus Lindsay, led 153 laps to the 167 to win this event. What are we going to see here tonight?
I think it's anybody's guess, Tim. This is a whole different season. We saw that at Daytona a couple of weeks ago. The normal players aren't exactly in play, at least from what we saw at Daytona. However, you got the same teams and really some of the guys that were fast in the Pro Series that have been fast in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series as well after just 1 week. So we'll see how it all plays out, but I've got a feeling it's going to be a little racier for the front than maybe what we saw last season. These guys have got their sea legs underneath them, so to speak. And Joe, this is the second season on this new car, and we've seen the competition, the racing get better and better each and every time they've been on the racetrack.
Well, something else to consider there as well, Tony. I mean, there's 2 things that's really on top of my mind right now. Number 1, this time last year, we were not at Las Vegas, we were at Phoenix, a completely different track. So being at this track this year will throw in a little bit of a wrench to these guys from where they were last year, but I think it's going to be a welcome, it's going to be a new challenge and opportunity for these guys. Number 2 to that, I don't expect a whole lot of guys rolling the dice this early in the season. Remember, yes, it is a shorter season than the NASCAR season, but the Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing.com, does allow you a lot of opportunity. And tonight, with the shifting of the guard we saw last week at Daytona, with so many new faces in the top 10, in the top 15, in the top 20 for that matter, the old guard, I think, is going to be shaken up a little bit, and you're going to see a new, rejuvenated, returning group here that's going to get ready to prove their place in the series.
And we've got a final couple of drivers here. You mentioned Brandon Cattell finished second last week as well, guys. He sits second. Danny Hansen, Thomas Lewandowski, Brian Schoenberg, top 5. So Tony Stevens, familiar faces and some new faces. And speaking about new faces, 2 weeks ago we welcomed in Peak Antifreeze to this series, and I believe you've caught up with Brian Emmerich, the CMO of Peak Antifreeze.
Up on the other end technology here. So we're all that ready to roll for him in just a second, but he's certainly very excited to be involved in NASCAR racing, or NASCAR Peak Antifreeze here. just coming into the night, points are going to be the big thing on a lot of people's minds. Ian's trying to get all his technology working there.
Yeah, no worries.
Thanks, Joe. And we've caught up with Brian Emmerich. He's the Chief Marketing Officer for Old World Industries, also known as the parent company for the Peak family of brands and products. And Brian, this, as we talked about last week at Daytona, is really cool, I think, for the sim racing community, number one, to see a sponsor like Peak come on board. But number two, it's got to be cool for you guys to be really one of the first major companies that we're really aware of to make a huge investment into a virtual marketing world that a lot of people have not tapped into yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first off, I want to thank you guys for having me on. We're super proud to be part of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. We know that there's race car fans and there's race car drivers of all types and sizes and shapes. And getting involved in something like the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series for us was a no-brainer. I mean, we're a small family-owned company. People think of us as part of a big oil company. But we like to do things different, and we like to get involved with those kinds of series that can really set us apart and let people know that what we're about.
And you guys have you made no bones about it. You're always about trying to be a small, I don't say a small business type, but a smaller company making decisions based off of what your interests are, not shareholders or people like that. So what was so attractive about the iRacing platform and what this entire marketing partnership with iRacing and NASCAR and everybody involved, what was so interesting about that for Peak?
Well, I think, when you look at the series and you look at the way that they're interacting with folks that have certainly the same skill set, I think, as drivers and the same passions for the sport, they're still the same kind of people that we're going after, that are really focusing on their cars. They're trying to do the things that are right for their cars in the real world. But when we looked at what was going on and what iRacing has done over the years and what they're still continuing to do and pushing going forward, to us, it was just amazing to be part of something that, we know will continue to grow. And hopefully, and I'm hoping that people recognize that we're part of this and we're going to continue to be part of this. We've got a 3-year deal. I'm sure we'll continue on after that. When they make some choices at the shelf, think about the guys that are supporting what their passions are, because that is really what we're about. We're about getting involved with people that are passionate about cars and about racing. And whether it's through NASCAR, whether it's through NHRA, whether it's through truck racing, or even things like 24 Hours of Lemons, those are the things and those are the people that we love to interact with and we love to have as our customers.
And I think it's a perfect match, at least from where I stand, because, a lot of people have talked about how to get the virtual people now, the kids coming into the automotive marketplace, how do you get them hooked into racing, into being more of a car person? And that's a conversation I think a lot of people have had with family, with friends, and I think you guys have made a step towards that with this. But the other thing you guys have done, which is really neat, and it's the second year you've done it, is now you're taking racers from every level, from go-karts and mini stocks up to late models and whatever level they've been to, and giving them a chance in top-notch equipment in the Peak Stock Car Dream Challenge too. And iRacing is also part of that. Tell us a little bit about everything involved in the second incarnation of that contest.
Sure. Well, the genesis of this program is something that I had in my head for years about how do we go out and how do we help grassroots racers not only have somebody win this and having us put them in a real car, being part of the Peak team and part of the Michael Waltrip Racing Development Program, but how do we get their stories and their passions out to the general population? How do we drive more awareness there? So, as we drove this program last year and we had 700 plus entries, we brought the top 9 folks to Charlotte. We went to the track for 3 days. We had 10, stock cars. We had go-karts. We had all kinds of things, and we tested them. And we had our NASCAR drivers at the time, still is Clint Boyer, but Michael Waltrip, Ty Norris, who's the general manager of MWR. We brought in Danica Patrick, Brian Vickers, Mark Martin. We brought all these guys in and said, let's showcase these guys on an hour-long TV show so that hopefully the winner gets a chance to move on, but also those other drivers get an opportunity to show what they're about. And so as we looked at year 2, we said, how do we make that bigger and better? Because we felt we were very successful in year one. And that's when we started talking to the folks at iRacing. Really enjoyed the time I spent with those folks. Great people. And we realized, hey, let's do more not only with sim racing, but let's integrate folks from that community into the Stock Car Dreams Challenge. And that's where we said, hey, one thing we're going to do is let's have the champion from last year be part of that group that goes to Charlotte, but also let's create a series on iRacing so the winner of that series can then also become part of that group that we take to Charlotte and we test and we ultimately find a winner. So it's a great way to not only bring grassroots racers up, but also bring folks from the sim community into the real world, put them in some real race cars, test them in lots of different ways, and just see how successful they can be.
I think it's absolutely great what you're doing with that. It's really cool that you can, we've talked about it before in broadcasts, sign up for iRacing, be good at your craft, and get a top-notch ride with a top-notch team thanks to a great company like Peak Automotive with what you guys are doing with this contest. I think it's absolutely amazing. Now, we're only a couple minutes from Grid and Cars on the racetrack, Brian, and I know you guys pay attention to some of this stuff, and you've got a new paint scheme now in Tyler Hudson's car this week. As you talked about, he being the defending NASCAR Series champion. But who do you pick to win tonight? Who do you pick to be strong?
Well, you know what? I don't claim to be knowledgeable enough about what's going on. I hope with who's on the track, and I just hope that everybody has a clean race. And I wish everyone the best. And if you could just please go to peakstockcardream.com and enter. And also, when you're making that choice at the shelf, please don't forget us, Peak, whether it's Antifreeze or motor oil or any of the other products. That's what I would hope our friends now in this community can help us help support them.
Well, we're certainly glad you're able to join us. And again, thanks for all you guys are doing for iRacing and for sim racing in general. We hope we can be as much of a meeting to you guys as you have been to the simulation community, and we look forward to a longer lasting relationship and maybe, who knows, a couple of new stars coming out of this simulated community.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Guys, that's Brian Emmerich. He is the Chief Marketing Officer for Old World Industries, the parent company for Peak Automotive and their family of brands.
Lap event at Las Vegas.
This is where it gets difficult. This is where your name's on the line, everything's on the line. You get that one chance to go out there and put down your best performance with the most amount of pressure.
You got to take this race car, this whole new group of people, go to the racetrack, somehow impress them, and oh, by the way, you got to do it now. It's now or never.
First thing that went through my mind was like, no way.
Just be real important to try to figure out how to keep the tires under him and run a smart 150 laps.
They might bump him around a little bit, but what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Everybody should enter next year's contest because you never know what could happen, man. You can come out here and run top 5 in your first K&N West race. So I'm so psyched right now. This is incredible.
Moments away from the green flag at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, let's go down our starting grid for round number 2 of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing.com, and it's all Cody Bias Racing on the front row. Alex Ward in the 82 puts up a 28.706. To the outside, it is the 27 of Cody Bias.
Chris Oberlin in the 47 machine. He'll roll off in the 3rd spot. Then it's Dylan Duvall in the number 15 car outside of him.
In the inside of row number 3, Kenny Humpy, last week's winner in the 58 machine, 5th. Adam Gill in the 8, starts 6th.
Your next row sees Brandon Schmidt in the 3 to the outside, 34, Matt Busa.
Chad Lawton and Danny Hansen are going to make up row number 5.
Row number 6, Brandon Cattell on the inside, Jake Sturgis on the outside.
Mitchell Hunt rolls off 13th. To his outside, Michael J. Johnson.
Rob Ackley and Josh Lawton in the 40 will make up for number 8.
Row number 9, the inside belongs to Justin Bolton in the 36. On the outside, the Peak Machine, the Tyler Hudson, your defending champion.
You got Rich Doucette in the 1 rolling off 19th. To his outside, the 4 is Brian Day.
PJ Sturgis and Brian Schoenberg go 21 and 22.
Position number 23 belongs to Robert Hall in the 30, Brandon Hall for the 23-24.
Slip Angle Motorsports, the 2 of Ray Alfala 25th, Byron Daly 26th.
Brad Davies and Kevin King, familiar names, roll off in the 14th row.
Row number 15, Justin Trombley on the inside, Ashley Miller on the outside.
Brad Mahar rolls off 31st, 32nd, Peter Bennett.
Michael Connie and Thomas Lewandowski roll 33 and 34.
35 and 36 belongs to Josh Hawk and Brandon Hawk and Josh Berry.
Got Carson McClellan rolling off 37th, 38th, Brandon Bowie.
Kwame Ajay and Brian Blackford make up the 20th row.
And starting at the tail end of the field, the 89 of Landon Harrison, the 05 of Nick Ottinger, and the 6 of Trey Edson.
43 cars getting ready to see the green flag. The iRacing pace car getting ready to head to the infield, and the field will be in command of the 82 car of Alex Warren. Pace car is in, and we are getting ready to see this thing fly for 167 laps. Alex Warren on the hammer. We are green.
Green is out, Tim, and on the jump, look at Alex Warren. He was shot out of a cannon, and look behind him now, Chris Overland looking racy as well. He's trying to move up from that second row starting spot. Nothing there. He'll race side by side with the number 15 car of Dylan Duval as they work down the back straightaway into turn 3 for the first time, Jeff.
Still 2x2 up through the first 3. It looks like there's a battle for position number 3 between Dylan Duval and Chris Overland. The Kenny Humpy, Jan Gill are looking for position. And now see Chad Lawton, Brandon Schmidt doing battle for position number 7. Guys on that start, they did check up a little bit in the middle. They were racing very aggressively in the center, and they still are. Around the 22, the 90, the 36 machine. Those guys are doing battle, and behind them, even more battles for position side by side.
26 and 80 going side by side. Brandon Cattell in the 80 trying to pick up a spot here on the 26 on the outside line. And guys, keep in mind that 80 of Brandon Cattell started off this season strong last year as well. He finished 5th at Daytona, finished 12th here at Las Vegas. So Brandon Cattell likes the way he's starting off this season, but doesn't want to get into that number 26 close quarters here into 1.
Yeah, Chad Lawton pinched down on Cattell. I don't know if it was quite the deal that Cattell expected, but it certainly put them in a very precarious spot as they race off into turn 3. Now 3 wide. Look at Mitchell Hunt on the bottom of the racetrack. The driver out of Mooresville, North Carolina, the number 19. He's going to look for the special 2 for 1 in turn number 3. It looks like he's going to get it at the stripe this time by, or if nothing else, at least he'll be now side by side with Brandon Cattell. Joe's Cattell has the preferred lane in turn 1 and 2.
Cattell trying to make everything work on that preferred lane, the high side, the fast way to get around this track. As behind him, the 26 almost makes contact with the wall. Cattell strong. Mitchell Hunt wants to be that much stronger, and he's got a nice little draft of guys behind him that are going to give him the push and ultimately give him the advantage. Mitchell Hunt score him a position up. Brandon Cattell now in position number 9 as he attempts the crossover.
Looking for the crossover move just behind him. Jake Sturgis trying to make a move as well. You ride on board with Danny Hansen. You see that 41 to the back bumper. You see out front the 80 of Brandon Cattell as they try to make the moves here early. We work lap number 5 down the back straightaway as these guys just trying to pick their moves right now, Tony.
Oh, trouble behind him. Matt Boosa nearly goes around. Somehow he saved it. How in the world did Matt Boosa hold on to that race car? He and Rich Doucette got together, and Boosa, I thought, was destined for the outside safer barrier. Somehow, Joe, he was able to hold on to it. What a great piece of driving by both of those drivers. And hey, look at that. Looks like Brian wanted the Pete car to have a good race. Well, he just about got caught up in it, but it was an opportunity for that Pete car. Tyler Hudson now making his way forward as well.
Pete car down the little bit of traffic up the zone. One of Tyler Hudson almost going to rewind there for a second. Now Hudson stuck in the middle of traffic with Boosa, with Brian Schoenberg, with Rob Ackley, Josh Lawton. All that in that mix right now, all looking for position, and that's not a good place to be. Heavy traffic amongst them. You see the battle right there in the box there is the number 01 of Tyler Hudson. He's trying to just do everything he can to keep that car from getting in trouble early in the race.
And the one thing we saw in the first few laps of this race, the outside line not really the place to be at this point. That inside line making up positions at 34 of Matt Busa on the outside line there around Tyler Hudson in that 01 car. So the outside line not the place to be right now, Tony.
I would, in a way, I'll agree with you, Tim, but I won't agree with you. I will disagree with you. I think the bottom lane is where you want to be getting into the corner. I think it gives you the strong arm at either end of the speedway. It allows you then to move the guy up the racetrack. But it seems like the preferred lane has been, at least in turns 1 and 2, right around the middle of the racetrack, and in turns 3 and 4, yes, more so towards the bottom. But I think in general, if you did have to pick one, Joe, you want the bottom because it gives you the dominant position getting into the corner to where you really can kind of dictate what the guy alongside you does.
Single file up front through your top 10 battle right now for about position number 21-22. As you see, Byron Daly, the 93 machine's got a little company behind him. Kevin King low, Matt Busa high. And Matt Busa, even though he was able to rescue that 34 machine, he's going to continue to drop. Lead change up front.
And it's going to be the 27 of Cody Bias leading a lap here. Alex Warren falling back to position number 2. Dylan Duval in 3rd, and Kenny Humpy is sitting there in 4th. Your second place in the Pro Series points. He's looking to pick up his 2nd win as he goes to the inside, and Tony wasting little time once again as he's looking to take his 2nd consecutive victory in the series.
Anybody that follows iRacing knows that Kenny Humpy, as we talked 2 weeks ago, it's no surprise he's fast, but I think to maybe fans of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze series that see a rookie come in here like this, Joe, it's normally you have to kind of pay your dues and cut your teeth a little bit before you really earn any respect out here with a lot of these guys. But Kenny Humpy, I think he's earned some respect, number 1. Number 2, he's very fast, but so look at these guys around him too. They all came from the Pro Series. Bias and Chris Overland, I mean, these are guys that last year we talked about 20th and 25th all night. They've really done their homework in the offseason, and this group of drivers has certainly proven themselves to be worthy. They were fast 2 weeks ago at Daytona as well.
As you look at Kenny Humpy, if you are a fan of sim racing in general, if you're going to go back to the DMP days, to the Golden Palace 400 days, to all those days, you would know that Kenny Humpy is synonymous with a lot of that. And now as you see him move his way up to position number 2, I think Kenny Humpy has finally hit the stride of his career. And right now he is looking to really create the golden era of things. Remember, back then, there was no Peak Antifreeze series powered by iRacing. There was no $10,000 prize at the end of the line. If you got into the Golden Palace 400, it was a one-off show. If you got to the Open Server 500, it was a one-off show. Now Kenny Humpy has a chance to really show what he's made of and really compete at that high level. As you see the 82 of Alex Warren start to have a little bit of electrical issues in that machine.
And keep in mind, Kenny Humpy knows pressure. He won a Landon Castle qualifying challenge event. I believe that was the 2K event that he won a couple of seasons ago. And now he is looking for the lead on Cody Bias in the number 27. And Tony, I spoke to a couple of those teammates of Cody Bias Racing, and he's looking now low. Kenny Humpy is for the lead position. The Cody Bias Racing team likes their setups, but right now they're going to like it from at least position number 2 as Kenny Humpy goes by in the NRT servers. Number 58 is going to lead his first lap to complete lap 14 here.
Again, Tim, no surprise the Humpy is out front, but I think it is a surprise who's not up front right now. Who do you think of when you think of NASCAR Peak Antifreeze series? You think of Ray Alfala, you think of Kevin King, you think of Brian Schoenberg in recent races, all these big names, Tyler Hudson, of course, the defending champion. Where are they at? Right now, nowhere to be seen, Joe. Ottinger, the wins leader from last season, 34. Alfala is 31st. Let's look here. Tyler Hudson's one of the best running drivers of that group. He's in 14th. Check that. 13th now with Brian Schoenberg right behind him. Is this maybe a changing of the guard that we're seeing in the first 2 races of the season, you think?
That's exactly what I said in the pre-race show. We saw a little bit of a challenge to the guard. I think that depending on what happens tonight, it could be an official changing of the guard. Kevin King now starting to struggle as he's stuck on that high side. Brad Davies gets around him in the 11. The 34 of Matt Busa looking to do the same. Behind him, more battles. Brian Day, the Plan B sales driver, running side by side with Ashley Miller. Behind him, 2 more. PJ Sturgis working side by side with the number 16 of Tom Lewandowski, and they're going to continue to run the box formation as they start to settle it out. Nobody wants to get caught up in a wreck this early in a race.
Alex Warren has lost connection to the server, which means he is going to fall from what was third place in the number 82 car. And you see a lot of this starting to form, Tony. We mentioned 2 seasons ago, this race came down to fuel mileage. Jake Sturgis won the race. He got a caution with about 20 laps to go. Got a couple more cautions to boot. Stayed out, ended up holding off the field and winning the race. Jake Sturgis, though, it was no fluke. He's running in 10th right now. That's where he finished at this event 1 season ago. This is looking like a green flag run, at least at this point. This could very well end up being another one of those strategy races where you have to plan your pit stops and plan how much gas you put into these race cars.
Yeah, you really do, Tim. I mean, 250 miles is a long time here at Vegas, but you know what else it is? It's right on the cusp of making it on 2 pit stops. I mean, we're talking close. If you milk it just enough, you can probably make it on 2 pit stops. It's going to be a little difficult, but I think it can be done. And I think, Joe, that maybe somebody further back in the field that doesn't have the fast race car, maybe they're going to be the ones that try it.
A lot of guys are going to try it. If anyone's going to roll the dice out here, you're going to see them roll the dice with the fuel mileage game, and you're going to see them roll the dice with the pit strategy game. And that could be where this race is won and lost. We talk about it often as you ride along the rear bumper now of that 32 machine. It's Danny Hansen. Jake Sturgis immediately behind him. Sturgis dispatches him with ease. Sturgis now solidly in the top 10 in position number 9. We've talked about guys often. The race can be won and lost on pit road. And tonight, if it comes down to it, if it comes down to strategy, that's where you're going to see the real racing out.
You're probably going to see somebody play that wild card, roll the dice, and get lucky here, at least at some point in this race. Alex Warren returning to the racetrack in the 82 car as well, as he has those issues. Tony, that's one thing you don't want to see early in this race, and especially with this series. If you have a tough run at Daytona, yes, you do have 1 drop race. Your best 16 races count towards a championship, but in the case of Alex Warren, he really can't afford another bad race.
No, he really can't, Tim, and being that he's already being shown now 5 laps. We got trouble on the racetrack. Caution is out. Right here on the front straightaway, Ashley Miller has destroyed the number 7 machine, and PJ Sturgis also caught up in it. It all happened right around Ray Alfala out of turn number 4. And Joe, those are 2 big hunks of junk now on the front straightaway.
2 big hunks of junk inadvertently caused, it looks like, involving a big name. It's going to be Ray Alfala that ended up getting into the 57 machine. It looks like coming off of turns number 3 and 4. Not sure if Alfala took the turn wide with the 57, tried to cut him off, but in any event, poor move for PJ Sturgis. It backfired in his favor. He bet it all on the roulette table, and he lost out there. The 7 machine of Ashley Miller doing the exact same thing, and those 2 machines, count them out, they are done for the night.
And we mentioned as well a lot of big names back there. You mentioned Ray Alfala getting caught up in that. That was right around where Nick Ottinger was running, Mike Conti, all those other drivers back there. That's really where you don't want to be in that hornet's nest should something happen like that and you end up maybe making a little bit of contact, having to come down pit road, get adjustments made, and a little bit of damage fixed to that race car in order to make it just that little bit better and knock you from, you know, the 25th place-ish where you were running back to maybe 35th or so. Speaking about pit road, it's about to be a very busy place as it looks like Kenny Humpy is coming down pit road, and he is going to bring a whole host of friends along with him. Looks like at least your top 10, and I would say probably, Tony, 7/8 of this field coming onto pit road.
Yeah, it looks like everybody is on pit road, Tim. I don't think there'll be anybody that stays on the racetrack. Well, as soon as I say that, well, never mind. Alex Warren does because he's multiple laps down. But everybody that's eligible to pit is doing so. And it looks like it's going to be at least 2 tires, if not 4, and a full tank of fuel for most of the leaders. Humpy service now halfway through. Right side service complete. Crew will work around to the left side of the car. And, in fact, it will be 4 brand new virtual Goodyear Racing Eagles on the NRT service car. Cody Bias is going to win the race off pit road. Chris Overland second. Humpy, Duval, and then it looks like the number 3 machine of Brandon Schmidt going to come out 5th on the battle off pit road, but not the stop that Kenny Humpy won. It came in leading, Joe, ends up leading in the 3rd place.
Well, Kenny Humpy overshot his stall when he came in, as did Adam Gill, and both those drivers getting a little excited, getting into their boxes, overshot it by just a nose, forced to back it up before they can start servicing those machines. Meanwhile, Cody Bias up front, perfect stop for him, and he's going to take away the lead. Chris Overland's second, and now I do believe Ryan Blackford will get his opportunity to get his lap back. He was forced to come down on lap number 1 after having some major issues with that car. Not exactly sure what happened to the 33, but he's forced to come down pit road as on the first lap, and now Brian Blackford might have an opportunity to get his lap back and show what he can do on the field.
So now the question remains, how hard do you push here, knowing that we had a 20-something lap green flag run to start off this race? Do we see another 100 laps or so green, or do we see a couple of short spurts to caution flags? It all goes into this strategy as Cody Bias goes back up to the top of the scoring pylon with that pit stop. We're going to look at another angle of this replay to figure out what brought out this caution flag, and you're going to see that 2-car back in there again, Tony, and it was a rough start to the season. Ray told me before Daytona can be your friend, cannot be your friend. He's won there before, but still don't like the racetrack. He finished back in the 21st place position and running about where that is right now, scored in 24th right now. Ray is having a tough start to this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze season.
Yeah, he really is, Joe Tim. But here's the good news. We're only 25 laps into this race this time by. It's 167 laps. So, Ray's got time to maybe make something happen. And we saw last year at Homestead that if he gets put in a spot and boxed in, he'll try something to try to improve the inevitable. And it lost him a chance. Well, I shouldn't say it lost him a championship. He wasn't able to win the championship that way, but he tried something. And Joe, that's something that Ray is. He, as much as people will say he's fast, he's dominant, yeah, he is. But he's also a thinking man's racer, because now he has to think about how to improve where he's at, because the car he's got is pretty much what he's got. And it might be strategy, it might be something else, but Ray Alfalla can actually make that happen, Joe.
Yeah, but the good news is that, for as being involved in that incident, that number 2 machine, Ray Alfalla, got probably the better part of the incident. Not only did he still picked up those two positions he was gunning for, but he also didn't get the most damage. When you look at Sturgis, when you look at Miller, both those drivers having heavy amounts of damage now. The 7 will continue to limp around the track. The 57 is done. For those of you looking for the live scoring, we are having some technical difficulties with it tonight here on the in the show. You can check it out if you're looking for it online. You can check it out at timing.psrtv.com, timing.psrtv.com. You can also see it on our player at PSRTV.
So we get ready to go back to green flag racing. Cody Bias is your leader. Chris Overland in second, your Pro Series champion on the outside. Another driver that really had some tough luck at Daytona finished in position 36 there. Kenny Humpy, Dylan Duvall, Brandon Schmidt, your top 5, with Chad Lawton, Adam Gilliland, Mitchell Hunt, Jake Sturgis, and Justin Bolton completing your top 10. As we have 140 laps to go in this event. Still a long ways to go in round number 2 of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing. The iRacing Ford Mustang pace car set to head to the infield, and Cody Bias will be in control of the field once again. Bias looking to add his name to the win list in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. Pace car in 27, about to get on the loud pedal. Green flag flies, and we're back underway. What a start back there for Adam Gilliland, looking to the inside, maybe 3 wide before we even hit turn 1.
He thought about it, Tim, and for a moment there, well, there was no moment. He was on the apron, and he was doing more than thinking about it. He was acting on it. But Gilliland decided not to make it 3 wide in turn 1. Probably a smart move on cold tires this early in the race. And that's the difference, Joe, between Adam Gilliland from a year, maybe a year and a half ago, and the Adam Gilliland now. A year and a half ago, Adam Gilliland might have made that move. We might have had big chunk in turn 1.
As I've said before, discretion is the better part of valor, and Adam Gilliland is learning that, and more importantly, demonstrating that on the track. Though Gilliland now trying to get around that 19 of Mitchell Hunt. He needs a little bit of help, though. He needs someone to give him the shove. The 41 now going to try to help him do that. No, he's going to force the number 8 back in line and try to take the position for himself. And look who's broken into the top 10 for the first time tonight. Your defending champion, Tyler Hudson, after being in a very hairy situation before the caution flag, now mixing it up in the top 10. And you got a feeling, if you just look at that blue P car right now, that blue P Ford Fusion, he is not done. He is not done looking for positions. He's just getting started tonight.
Finished fourth in this event 1 season ago, did Tyler Hudson, looking to better that by 3 spots, but he's now on the outside as here comes Danny Hansen to the inside in the 32, or at least looked in corner number 3. Nothing doing there. Going to try to get back to the inside of the 01. 01 slams the door. 41 and 8 side by side in front of them as Jake Sturgis will pick up a spot on Adam Gilliland, and Gilliland now has to defend from the 01. 32 has a car to the outside of him now. That is the 40 of Josh Lawton as they go toe-to-toe down the back straightaway.
And it almost looks like right now, guys, that Jake Sturgis is holding this group up. You see Gilliland now being shuffled at top. Oh, he got big trouble. Turn number 3. That looked like maybe Michael Johnson got shoved to the outside wall. It was a black and blue car. It appeared to be his, but major issues for Michael Johnson, and looks like his night has taken a turn for the worst, Joe. And looks like maybe Brad Davies caught a piece of that one as well.
Almost 3 wide going into turn number 3. The 36 in front of them. That 36 wanted Justin Bolton, but it was about the 11 and the 39 as the 39 tried to make that aggressive move. Michael Johnson tried to get underneath the 11. Didn't work. The 11 instead makes contact with him. The 11 walks away with a little bit of damage. The 39 walks away with a completely flat side, completely flat left side. We've got the webcam on him. We're going to pull that up just for a moment. I'm sure you're going to see a very dejected Michael Johnson, to say the least.
And I think there's a couple of drivers behind them holding their breath, trying to get through that. Byron Daly being one of them, trying to weave his way through that. And Tony, Joe mentioned something there, a little bit of contact on the rear of that 11 of Brad Davies. Not sure how much damage that he will have, as I believe Mitchell Hunt is going to come on to pit road, as is Adam Gilliland. So about a handful coming down to pit road, and of course Davies is as well. One thing I was going to mention, Tony, is that rear suspension, that left rear corner, very vulnerable part on this iRacing race car. It didn't look like Brad Davies got hit a whole lot on that corner, but there could be some damage suspension-wise that we might not see.
You're exactly right, Tim, and that's something that it's very hard to see in a simulated race car. Davies, though, service is down and he's away and complete already. However, you look at the left side of that race car, you see some crinkled sheet metal, you see some panels that aren't as straight as they were maybe 2 minutes ago. And Joe, that's something that I think is going to have to be some cause for concern, because these cars are so, well, they're not just equally matched, they're equally built, literally, because they're all racing the same race car. The only difference is the setup. Any disadvantage you have at a place like Las Vegas, such as this crinkled sheet metal on Brad Davies' car, could be a major disadvantage. It's something we'll have to see how it plays out, how, or for that matter, if it affects the 11 car. But I think that's something a lot of people are going to have to look at, and Brad Davies, I'm certain, is going to be very, very closely paying attention to it as well.
Well, absolutely. This is something you have to be cognizant of in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing. This is really the only top tier of NASCAR that you do not get a technological advantage by having a brand name motor underneath your car, or a brand name chassis, or a brand name team behind you, or a brand name sponsor. This is really the only series where everybody, it's all about skill. Everybody is up against each other with the same exact technological car, the same exact technological specifications. The only difference is, number one, what can you do to make it work for your style? And number two, how much skill, how much of your skill, how much of your ability can you bring together to the track week in and week out, and ultimately work your way up. This is really, truly a test of ability, and some of these drivers, if given the opportunity, I almost bet you, just based on the skill set, the depth of skill here alone, would fare just as well on a real track as they do in the sim tracks.
You mentioned some of those teams that we have here, Joe. I want to mention Dylan Duval in the 15. He's one of those drivers that's the go or go home per se in this series. We have 10 drivers that are fighting for the final spots in this series that are not currently taken up by the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series licensed drivers. And Duval did a fairly good job this evening. He locked himself in to the grid by qualifying in P4. He still sits in position number 4, and this week, big announcement for them, OMG Clusters coming on board with the number 15. It's a Canadian company. If you're familiar with clodhoppers, the folks there came up with the new candy. Arlene Dickinson came on board with Dragon's Den, and he's putting up a pretty good run so far in position number 4. And Tony, you know me, I like food, I like candy. I actually went to my local Atlantic Superstore today and picked up a couple of bags of candy. I started the broadcast with 1 bag, but the dark chocolate graham clusters and almonds and toffee bits that I had, they're gone. Gonna need another bag.
Tim, but they do look good. Just looking at that race car, I had no idea what the company was. You just told me I was going to do a little bit of research. I kind of figured it might have been a Canadian company, but doggone, that thing looks good on the racetrack. It kind of reminds me of the old Tommy Ellis Grand National scheme, and the same similar type of company was involved. So, I might have to come to Canada to get some of those. Joe, are they available anywhere in the States at all, Tim?
Actually, they are. They just came into Sam's Club in the States a couple of weeks ago. So if you have a local Sam's Club, run out, grab some OMG candies. You're definitely going to want to grab more than 1 bag, because they are definitely something you want to munch on if you're in Canada. Most of your local convenience stores, Atlantic Superstore locations, Shoppers Drug Mart, list goes on and on. OMGs.ca is the place to go for all the candy needs for that. And I'm definitely going to need a couple more bags in the next couple of broadcasts or next couple of days. Yeah, exactly. Canadian company, Canadian broadcaster, just leave it at that. Cody Biaso is getting ready to take the green flag here. We'll leave the candy situation for a moment. Kenny Humpy, Chris Overland, Dylan Duvall, Chad Lawton, your top 5, with Brandon Schmidt, Jake Sturgis, Tyler Hudson, and the rest of the field getting ready to go green. The iRacing pace car is off, and Bias in control of this field once again. 34 laps completed here, and we are back underway. Look at Chris Overland on the inside, the double clutch, number 47, to the inside of the 58. It's the Pro Series all over again. Now Overland almost looking at Bias for the lead position. He thought about it, Tony.
He thought about it. He nearly had a nose there, but couldn't quite pull it off. Now Overland going to fall back into that 3rd spot. Look at Duvall. Look at the top side now of Overland in turn number 3. Nothing there yet. Lawton will look underneath Duvall now, so Lawton might be able to move up to the 4th spot as we work off turn number 4. Like we talked about earlier, Joe, this is not the race we saw last year. Yes, if you're up front, you've got a good car, you can stay there, but it's a much racier race, and just because you're out front doesn't mean you're going to be there all night. You're going to have some challenges.
And we just saw a huge challenge for the 58 of Kenny Humpy on that outside line. Makes the first outside line pass for the night. That 58 machine, for a 2nd week in a row, has something very, very special in it. I don't know if it's a chip in the shoulder. I don't know if it's passion, pride, whatever it is. But you cannot doubt Kenny Humpy, the 58 machine, is once again back up front. The Cody Bias right behind him. Now the battle is for position number 3 as they almost go 3 wide. Overland, Dylan Duvall in the mix, Chad Lawton in the mix, Brandon Schmidt in the mix, Jake Sturgis in the mix as well. All these guys looking for position. Oh, and there's some guy named Tyler Hudson. He's in that battle as well. He could turn 8th to 5th very, very quickly.
And they might be dodging some fenders here in a moment, Tony, because the 26 of Chad Lawton is using every single piece of the bottom 2 lines of this racetrack, and Chris Overland is up on that high side trying to hang on to it. The 47, I believe, is going to lose the spot here to Chad Lawton, and Lawton does a little bit of that slide job to try to take that spot away. Now Overland flirting with that inside line, trying to get that fender there. Nothing going to happen, but behind it's Schmidt and the 15 of Dylan Duvall going side by side as the 15 car going to try to take that outside line. Great run off corner number 4. Duvall will take the spot.
So move Duvall now back up inside the top 5. And, you know, one thing watching the 26 machine a lot, and as we were watching him and Overland, it was amazing, like we talked about earlier, if you get the right line on somebody, how much you can kind of manhandle and muscle them around. But I'll give credit to Chris Overland, Joe. He's probably been the strongest car so far tonight that we've really seen on the top of the racetrack. Everybody else is able to lose a spot every lap or so up top, but Overland did a fantastic job on the high side. The only downside is how much do he actually use up trying to hold that spot, and does he have bigger issues now because that car's starting to blink a little bit, starting to have some electrical issues on that 47 machine. Could that now maybe be another problem on his plate?
Could certainly turn into it, but another guy who doesn't look like he's having problems, who looks like he's methodologically going through this field and slicing his, dicing his way through, is the 0-1. Tyler Hudson was in 8th, now in 7th, and now he's gonna try to lead a couple guys here along with him. Guys like Brandon Schmidt, Danny Hansen, Josh Lawton, they're gonna try to go along for the ride. Meanwhile, back in position number 12, Brian Schoenberg, who had a top 5 finish last week. He's gonna start sliding back a little bit on that high side. Mitchell Hunt down low. Kevin King, the banker from Raleigh, coming low. Michael Connie, Brad Davies, Adam Gilliland, a whole line of guys trying to get around the 55, and now the Schoenberg just loses the handle on that machine. The freight train passes it by. The caboose on that freight train, Ray Alfalo.
And it looks like he's going to find that spot in line, Joe, but right in front of the 93 of Byron Daly, and they had to check up a little bit to let that 55 in line, and I'm sure if Byron Daly had his way, it probably wouldn't have been by choice that he went in there. As you see the 40 car now, Josh Lawton, the 1 of Rich Doucette, about to go side by side. It's the 3 of Brandon Schmidt and the 32 of Danny Hansen in front of them going for position. Rich Doucette is starting to make his way to the front of the field. Keep in mind, Tony, Rich Doucette, Kenny Humpy, they're on the same team, so the Tim's Corner Motorsports number 1 might have a little bit under the hood here for late in this race.
He could, Tim. I mean, we're only 50, 60 sub miles into this race of 250 miles in distance. So, yeah, a long time still to go as you're riding on board the roof of Josh Lawton there a moment or so ago. And you see just how close things are getting. He's got right there alongside of Lawton in that number 40 machine. And remember, Doucette had a close call, Joe. He was involved earlier with Matt Musa. The two basically crashing without losing control of the race cars. Almost got real ugly between them. And in fact, now look, Mitchell Hunt was right there. Looks like he decided to fall out of the line a little bit, losing a couple of spots. That number 19 machine maybe having some issues.
Mitchell Hunt, who was running strong. We talked about guys burning up what they've got early in the race, and Mitchell Hunt looks like he just might have burnt those tires up just a little bit. You can see him kind of working that car a little harder than he needs to. He's getting from the high to the low side, and then last time around was very slick, very wobbly through turns 3 and 4. We'll see if he holds that up in front of him. The 11 of Brad Davies trying to get around the 29 of Kevin King. Kevin King can't hold on that outside lane. So the 11, Brad Davies, 29 is toast. He hit that wall hard, and now he's going to let a lot of cars around him as he tries to get back up to speed. They are just dividing him on the track, putting him in the gully hole. 3 wide, almost 4 wide, around the 93, the 8, the 26, and now trouble. The 8 corrects it. Barely saves it. What the heck? The 93 machine. Byron Daly, 3 wide. Daly, doesn't make it through that one, and that's going to be a big problem behind him.
And that caution all started, Joe, with the 29 and the 11 making contact about a half lap before. You mentioned it, you called it, the 29 up into the fence in corner number 4, but it was the 11 that had a little bit of contact there, Tony, to send that number 29 up into the fence, and then everybody tried to avoid the slowing 29 as he tried to at least grab a gear, or at least grab some sort of a rhythm back from what he had before.
Yeah, it really was a wreck that took about 3/4 of a lap to completely build up and completely happen, like you said, starting with Kevin King and Brad Davies all rolling in 3 and 4, and then it played itself out as everybody tried like heck to make the gold rush in turn number 1. A few people struck gold, a few people struck rock, a few people struck themselves, like you saw out of turn number 2. But look at Byron Daly and everybody else who's spun here, Hawk and company, the guys that all got involved in this. That had the potential, Joe, to be very ugly, but whether it's great driving, sheer luck, or a combination of the two, other than a couple of small touches to send those drivers spinning, they really didn't hit anything.
No, they didn't hit anything. They were able to really keep those cars clean and keep them safe on the track, and it'll make the jobs of the crews a whole lot easier. Pit road getting busy one more time as we see these guys come down pit road once again. Should be foreign gas for everybody involved. Cody Bias pulls into his stall up for run. Perfect stop. 47 in, 15 in, the 58 of Kenny Humpy, and behind him the 8 of Adam Gilliland. He pulls it in without any problems. 4 tires and gas for everybody in that top group. And it looks like it's going to be the 41 machine. That's Jake Sturgis trying to get off first. No, it's going to be Kenny Humpy who gets away in front. It looks like it's going to be Cody Bias second, Chris Overland third, Dylan Duvall fourth, and Jake Sturgis, your top 5 coming off pit road.
Chad Lawton going to be your big loser here, guys. He's going to fall back to position number 6. We're going to step away for just a few moments' time, and we will be back with the green flag. We have completed 47 of the 167 laps for the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
What's inside Peak Antifreeze? 65 years of experience in hot and cold protection. From an independent, family-owned business that's never been afraid to give you exactly what's right for your engine and your wallet. Peak. Run true.
Welcome back to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway as field still circulating under caution. As we said, Kenny Humpy, Cody Bias, and company still at the front of this field. Really no major stories after pit stops, Joe. It looks like everybody, for the most part, 4 tires and fuel. Nothing real surprising yet out of this one, but we do still have 120 almost laps to go.
Tony, have you heard the line, if you like your position, you can keep your position? Well, that's what's going on here on track. A lot of guys on here able to keep their position as a result of their, Kenny Humpy still up front, Cody Bias right behind him, Chris Overland, Dylan Duvall, Jake Sturgis, your top 5, and guys who are trying to work their way up through the field. They're having a little bit of trouble right now. Guys like the 0-1 of Tyler Hudson, as you take a look at that last wreck that brought out this caution flag to begin with. These guys are not under the yellow flag. They can't do a whole lot. Pit road, they've had plenty of opportunities to come down. They've had 3 caution flags. As we take a look at that incident one more time there, these guys are doing everything they can, but it looks like just the track may not be as compliant as they want it to be tonight, which could mean good news if you're up front and bad news if you're not.
And it's about to get exciting once again as the pace car has the field doubled up behind it. Kenny Humpy, Cody Bias, Chris Overland, Dylan Duvall, and Jake Sturgis. Your top 5 off pit road: Chad Lawton, Tyler Hudson, Brandon Schmidt, Danny Hansen, and Rich Doucette in position number 10. Saw Rich Doucette get a little aggressive prior to that caution flag, Tony. I'm not sure if he's done trying to make his way to the front of the field. I know his qualifying effort wasn't as good as he wanted it to be back in position number 19, but he's sitting in position number 10 on the outside. He's got Danny Hansen there, who finished 3rd at Daytona. You've got a couple of guys that were really strong at Daytona looking to carry that momentum so they don't have to per se use that drop race at this point in the season. But Kenny Humpy out in front, trying to go 2 for 2 won at Daytona, 47 points. He's got 4 points up on position number 2 in the standings. Brandon Cattell, who likes this racetrack, but right now sitting in position number 36. The 80 car has a lot of work to do in about 100 and so laps, 117 this time by. As the pace car pulls in, Kenny Humpy in the 58 in control, and he is gone. A green flag flies. The 27 has company with the 47 on the inside. Overland now looking for second.
Overland once again thinking about it in turns 1 and 2, and this time looks like he'll clear. Yes, Cody Bias off of turn number 2, so Overland finding a little bit of steam on the bottom of the racetrack. Dylan Duvall trying to follow suit, but nothing there. He'll fall back in line as they now work single file through the top 5, 6, 8 cars. First side-by-side battle, Joe, is going to be Danny Hansen in the 32 and the number 3 of Brandon Schmidt. That's battle for 8th as they cross the stripe.
32 and 3 still doing battle back there for that position. Number 8, Schmidt on the high side. And we've seen the high side work for only one driver. That's the driver leading this race right now. The 3 wants to be the second driver to make it work. But Danny Hansen not going to let that happen. The big blue oval on that Ford going to flex its muscle there and get by the Chevy up top. So the 32 of Danny Hansen, the Pro Geek car that we've been so synonymous with press champion Ray Alfalla, now on the hood of that 32 machine, and Hansen will move up to position number 8 officially. And you're on the back of the 32. He's got some company behind him. Richard Doucette, Brandon Schmidt, both trying to run for that position and get a little bit higher in the top 10.
Ooh, close quarter there for the 1 and the 3 as they almost make a little bit of contact off the corner. They get single file, and now the 3 is trying to stop the bleeding, but he's got the 40, the 11, the 19 lined up behind, and then a side-by-side battle between 5 and 2. Conti makes the move on Alfalla, and here comes Nick Ottinger, and there's a name we haven't talked a whole lot about this evening. The Ream Chevrolet to the inside of the number 2 of Ray Alfalla. He will pick up a spot, and Josh Berry also trying to come through on the 88 as he works to the bottom side of the 2. Looks like Ray Alfalla going a little bit backwards here early in this one.
Little bit, Tim, but you know what? It's still fairly early. We haven't quite got to halfway yet, but now the contender starting the cream, as the proverbial saying goes, is starting to rise to the top. And really, to nobody's surprise, the Ottingers, the Alfallas, the Hudsons are slowly making their way up the scoring pylon, and they're getting where they need to be when they need to be there. They're in no rush. They don't pay anything on lap 55. They don't pay anything on lap 100. They pay everything points-wise on lap 167, Joe. That's the one that matters here tonight, and the seasoned veterans, I think, know that, and they've got that in mind as they continue to work toward the end of this race.
As you mentioned that, Tony, something I've been noticing even from a lot of the veterans is through the turns, they're getting a little bit of wiggle. You saw Ray Alfalla wiggle about 2 laps ago as they worked through that turn. Now everybody's pretty much single file through the field, but that wiggle's got to be a little bit concerning. And this has been said before, in order to finish first you must finish, and a lot of these guys here are trying to do just that at this juncture of the race. You don't win it with 100-some laps left to go. You win it at lap 167 when the checkered flag flies, and you're starting to see some of that conservation come into play. We've already had 3 caution flags, and none of these drivers throughout this field want to be involved in caution flag number 4.
The top few drivers starting to spread themselves away from the rest of this field. The 27 looking at the 47 for position 2 as Cody Bias looks to take that second place spot away from the double clutch number 47. The 41 of Jake Sturgis has company with the 1 of Rich Doucette. That is for positions 8 and 9 respectively. And it looks like Brandon Schmidt just behind this number 1, which you ride on the roof of, is still trying to hold off Josh Lawton in the number 40. And not a bad run for Josh Lawton back there as well, Tony. He's running in the top 10, or about to be in the top 10, as he moves underneath the number 3 of Brandon Schmidt to put the 40 car almost in the top 10. There was a little bit of a wiggle there. The 3 going to get a little momentum on the outside. They're going to be dead even at the line. The 3 had the spot at the stripe.
Barely, but now Lawton's going to have that preferred lane in turn number 1. He can shove Schmidt up the racetrack. Chooses not to do it quite to the extent we saw earlier, but oh, hello out of turn number 2. Josh Lawton had to hold on to that one, and that's something we've seen on both ends of the racetrack, Joe. We've seen cars that are being pinched down get loose. We saw it with Ray Alfalo when he used that incident earlier that took out Ashley Miller and TJ Sturgis. Possibly a little bit of arrow loose or just simply mechanical loose trying to pinch that car down. Either way, we just saw it again with Josh Lawton, and I got a feeling it's not going to be the last time we see it tonight either.
The 11 machine of Brad Davies has some competition behind him. Nick Ottinger, the 05 machine, now starting to wake up a little bit in this race. Mitchell Hunt, Michael Connie also in the mix. Connie slapped the wall just a little bit. And now look at the 05 of Nick Ottinger. Started 29th on this field and now has worked his way up to position number 12 from left field. The left field wall all the way back now, almost in the top 10. The man who won the most amount of races last season now starting to wake up a little bit and starting to bring that Ream machine forward.
Keep in mind, he also had a rough start to the 2013 season at Daytona. He had a rough start to the 2014 season at Daytona as well, finishing 38th and having to claw out of that hole once again. But as we mentioned, Tony, you have one drop race in this series. As you look at the 5 of Mike Conti, there's a driver that missed Daytona to start the season last year as he works past number 11 of Brad Davies. Conti working his way back up 8th in the point standings after one race as he tries to hunt down the 19, no pun intended, of Mitchell Hunt.
Certainly trying, and right now I think he's having a little bit of success at doing so. But you talk back again about Nick Ottinger right in front of this group, and you know who he reminds me a little bit of, Tim? He reminds me a little bit, at least in the race car, of a Tony Stewart. Remember, Tony Stewart's notorious for getting a slow start to the season. Everybody jokes about how he's still frozen and he doesn't come out until the oil starts seeping out of the racetrack. Now, while we don't have that on iRacing, I think there's something to be said, Joe, for just kind of getting into a groove and getting comfortable with what you have. And that's kind of what Nick Ottinger reminds me of, is a Tony Stewart. It takes him a while to get rolling, but once he finds that feel he wants, once he gets everything underneath him from that Gale Force team that he needs, he's next to unstoppable.
As Nick Ottinger picks up another position, this time passing the 40 of Josh Lawton. Nick Ottinger, he really shows his muscle at the tracks a mile and a half and shorter. Last year, Las Vegas Motor Speedway was week number 2, but after that, after getting the rust shaken off him, he had wins at Texas. He had a win at Kansas. He had a win at Kentucky. He's also won in Phoenix, which we're not running this season, but a mile and a half and shorter. Nick Ottinger seems to really specialize in those and make those work for him. Dylan Duvall, a driver that was in that top group, starting to suffer a little bit. He drops from that top group to now position number 9, right in the sights of Nick Ottinger, who gets around the 3 of Brandon Schmidt with ease.
And keep in mind, he had a couple of issues last season with his internet provider dropping his internet connection throughout the races. There's 1 or 2 more that Joe and Tony, he could have very well won as well. So Nick Ottinger is one of those drivers that could very well walk away with this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series championship in the next 16 races when we talk about crowning a champion at Homestead at the end of the year. But right now, he's proving that he is here, and he is here to compete as he has clawed his way up into the top 10. A great run in this green flag section of the race for the 05 Ottinger. And there's a driver in front of him that is falling back. It's Dylan Duvall in the 15. He was 4th when we dropped the green flag about a dozen or so laps ago. And now he sits just in front of the 05 of Nick Ottinger.
Tim, I figured it out. I know why Dylan Duvall is having problems right now. It's quite simple. It took me 100 miles to figure it out, but you know why?
I'm going to assume that he's trying to eat and drive at the same time.
No. The team mistook the caramel for wheel bearing grease, and they tried greasing the hub with sticky caramel. Okay, maybe not. It's a virtual car, but close enough. We can have any sort of excuse we want. Speaking of cool stuff like OMG's candies, look at Landon Harrison here on the webcam. You see him now working that number 89 machine is way up ahead of him. Brandon Schmidt and Mitchell Hunt nearly had an encounter getting into turn number 3, but Harrison's doing, well, he's doing work right now, Joe. He's not really having the greatest of runs. He started back towards the tail of the field, and well, quite frankly, he's still there at 31st, but, Landon's, he intentionally took a slow lap to start the race, and it makes me wonder if maybe he's trying to challenge himself to drive through the field. You don't see that very often that somebody intentionally gives up track position.
Not usually often, not very often, but if anyone can do it, it's Landon Harrison. He's a decorated veteran here in the iRacing sim, in the car tomorrow in the Gen 6 car. So if there's anyone who can figure it out, it's going to be him. Back up to position number 2, Cody Bias, a 27 machine. He has now found his way back in second, passing Chris Overland for position number 3. And Tyler Hudson looks like he just literally picked up where he left off last year at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, now in position number 4. Tyler Hudson, he's been working all offseason and into this season, trying to not only defend, but defend with a vengeance his championship. And now you see the 47 and 01 right there, about less than a half a car length between those two drivers. Tyler Hudson looking to prove why he deserves to be in this top tier, in this elite field of NASCAR iRacing drivers.
And just behind them, you see the 26 at Chad Lawton trying to creep into the picture as the 01 looks underneath the 47 at a corner number 4. Looks like Tyler Hudson will move into third here. Chris Overland will fall back to fourth, and now that 26 gets a little bit closer in the picture. Tony, if you remember last season, Chad Lawton was one of those drivers, especially at the end of the year. He came back after serving our country, and now he's back in here, but he had a lot of great runs. And then he had runs where he ran up front and something happened that took away that run, whether it was a pit stop malfunction, whether it was a wreck, whether it was something. The 26 was always strong last year, just couldn't seem to close the deal at the end of the season. And same deal for some of those races in the NASCAR iRacing.com Pro Series as he looks underneath the number 47 for the position number 4. So it's a redemption year per se for Chad Lawton, and right now he's trying to redeem himself by taking back fourth.
He's trying to. Tim, here's the thing. You keep running the top 5 every week, you're going to end up in the top spot at some point. You can say luck into it if you like, but if you can run the top 5 of this series, you're going to have a car capable of winning. And now he moves himself up one more spot into fourth, finally getting by Chris Overland. It looks like some of those Pro Series drivers, Tim, they're starting to fade as these runs continue on, with a few exceptions, one of them being Kenny Humpy. But look now who's coming to the front of the field, Joe. It's the seasoned veterans. The guys that are used to these longer races with stiff competition. The Tyler Hudson, the Chad Lawton, the Nick Otten. Slowly but surely starting to overtake the Pro Series guys who are fast on the short runs. As we see Tyler Hudson here now, and you're right on board. On the long run, that experience is paying off. Move Tyler Hudson one spot shy of the peak down up to position number 2.
But as you say that, Tony, keep this in mind as well. Of your top 6 drivers on track right this moment, 5 of them came from the Pro Series. 5 of them were not on track last year. 5 of them were not even sniffing the lightest sense of fuel fumes at this level this time last year. So the competition is improving. The competition is changing. And tonight, as we see more and more of those Pro Series drivers work their way through, we are potentially seeing a changing of the guard at the peak Antifreeze Series level.
Could possibly see the 5-car Conti onto pit road in the next couple of laps. The 5-car, here he comes onto pit road. The Oboto Gaming cockpits. Number 5 going to whoa it down to the pit speed and nearly bought the farm and bought the yellow cone coming onto pit road as pit stops possibly beginning here, Tony. But could Conti possibly be short pitting a little bit here?
Yeah, Tim, this is way early for pit stops. I mean, we're only, 20 laps or so, 25 laps after our last run. Yeah, this is not, well, let me back up and say this is not normal scheduling for pit stops, but like we talked about earlier, this could be something that maybe Michael Conti is deciding to try. There are 90 laps to go or so in this race, and maybe realizing he still has to stop twice, showing he might be trying to split this up into whatever segment he feels works best for him. But it's a little different, there's no doubt. But you know what? Like we talked about, hey, you get stuck in the back, you got to do something to try to get out of your rut. Michael Conti's trying it.
Well, what do we always say here at that point, Tony? We always call it playing the race backwards, doing the math and running the race backwards. You're not necessarily counting down to when am I going to run out of fuel, when are the tires going to give out underneath me. You're now counting back to, if I stop now, when do I have to need to stop again? So I time it perfectly to not have to stop again at the end of the race. So either two things could happen now with that number 5 machine of Michael Conti. Either number 1, something malfunctioned in the machine and he had to come down for an emergency stop, or number 2, he's playing the race backwards. He's trying to figure out, if I stop now, when is the next time I have to stop again? And I've got a feeling, knowing Michael Conti, knowing his sheer intelligence alone, he's working it backwards already, though it is, albeit a little bit early.
We'll have to see if this plays out for him. He's probably hoping for a lot of green flag laps at this point, but keep in mind, guys, we mentioned 2 seasons ago, Jake Sturgis, Chad Coleman, I believe Andrew Fayash III was a part of that pit gamble as well. That paid off for top 5 finishes. Obviously, Mike Conti, one of those drivers that seems to be up front in a lot of these races. Tony, one of those drivers that you would think maybe possibly won't play one of those pit stop gambles. Gonna try it here this evening. Your top 5 have pretty much straightened away from each other, with the exception of Chad Lawton making the move there that last lap on Cody Bias to put Bias back to position number 4 and Chad Lawton up to position number 3. Joe mentioned a little bit earlier as well, Tony, 5 of the top 6 being Pro Series drivers. The top 3 from the Pro Series last season are in that top 6, including Chris Overland in 5th, Rich Doucette in 6th, and Kenny Humpy, who's currently pacing our field.
And they're doing a fantastic job, Tim, of mixing it up with the regulars like we've talked about. As you watch now, Doucette and Nick Ottinger in the box, and you see Ottinger moving his way a little bit closer to the front of this field. And the Ream machine might be starting to crank the heat up on the competition, I think, Joe. Everybody forgot about him at Daytona. He was there, he had an issue early, and I think everybody forgot about him tonight because he started so far back in the field. Everybody wrote him off before he took the green flag. But here we are, pretty much at halfway, in a lap and a half, and knock knock, who's here? It's Nick Ottinger.
Come and knock on our door. They've been waiting for Nick Ottinger to break into the top 5. Now he's in position number 6. You know, guys, I almost picked him for my Tim's Corner Fantasy Challenge. I picked him last week. It wasn't the best pick for me, but now I'm getting regretting not picking Nick Ottinger this week, as you see more cars trying to pass that one machine. Rich Doucette in a little bit of trouble now as Jake Sturgis, 41, gets around him. The 32 Pro Geek Consulting Machine of Danny Hansen trying to get around. Josh Lawton trying to get around, but it looks like Danny Hansen may have stopped the bleeding for now. Nick Ottinger, he could break into the top 5, but he's going to need a little help. Chris Overland and company, they have broken away. Meanwhile, your last season's champion, Tyler Hudson, he's now trying to get to the peak of the race.
Tyler Hudson is closing in on Kenny Humpy. What was a half second is now down to about half of that margin, and about a car length and a half now between your top 2, Kenny Humpy and Tyler Hudson, and they are starting to drive away from Chad Lawton and Cody Bias, who are not done at position number 3, going for that 3rd place spot, this time by 85 of the 167 laps completed. And last season's champion in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series is making his move. He is up to the back bumper of the NRT Servers number 58 as they go down the back straightaway. Hudson on the hunt for the lead.
Right now, the fastest car on the racetrack as you ride on board with the Peak Antifreeze 01. Looking to go to the peak of the mountain as they work down the front straightaway. He'll peak to the inside, no pun intended there. And here he is, nose inside once again, Humpy. He'll think better of it. But these two are getting ready to have one heck of a battle. Hudson has driven his way from deep in the starting lineup all the way to the runner-up spot, Joe. I think Tyler Hudson needs business after his bad luck at Daytona 2 weeks ago.
Tyler started 18th on this field, and now is about to get to the Paramount if he doesn't make contact with the 58 of Kenny Humpy. The king is dead. Long live the king. Tyler Hudson stands alone at the top of the mountain.
And he begins to pull away a little bit now. Here comes Chad Lawton in the number 26, working up on his teammate Kenny Humpy for position number 2. Could Humpy possibly, I don't know, Tony, if he loses the lead, maybe he starts thinking of saving a little bit of fuel, or maybe backing off a little bit, trying to conserve here as Tyler Hudson has driven away from the 58 of Kenny Humpy, and now the 26 and 27 closing in. on the 58. Could that possibly be a conservation thing? Possibly thinking that this could go a little ways green?
Could, but I don't see that happening, Tim. It doesn't seem very likely. I think simply the setup is starting to go away on the Kenny Humpy machine. You've got to remember, while he's got so much experience under his belt as a sim racer, he has very little experience in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, and this is the pinnacle, or the peak, if you will, of sim racing. So you've got to make sure you fine-tune your game. Now, he's smart enough. He's going to learn. He's going to figure this out. But you keep looking at lap times throughout the field. Tyler Hudson's anywhere from a half a tenth to a tenth faster than the next fastest car throughout the lineup, all the way down through the running order, with the exception of Michael Connie, who has brand new tires. So I think simply this is a case, Joe, of superior experience, superior setup, taking advantage of a not quite so great setup and experience level on the part of Kenny Humpy.
And it's entirely possible, but it's only one way to find out. The race isn't over just yet. In fact, we're only an hour into the race. We're almost to the halfway, or just about the halfway point, plus or minus, half past halfway point, as Tony yells at me in my ear. Tyler Hudson up front, Kenny Humpy second, Jed Lawton now trying to get up to position number 2. And Jed Lawton will do so very easily. You're starting to see the cream rise to the top right here. You're starting to see the veterans make a second go at it. But we're still have plenty of racing left. Don't count your chickens before they hatch. Or as the great scholar Yogi Berra once said, it ain't over till it's over.
And keep in mind, Joe, you mentioned some of those drivers, the cream rising to the top. There's still some of the cream that apparently takes a little longer to come to the front of the field. Ray Alfala sits 19th right now. Looking back on through the field, Brian Schoenberg sits in position 28. Brandon Cattell, who was a runner-up here last week at Daytona, is in 32nd right now. Kevin King, 35th. So there are some drivers in this series that we are accustomed to seeing up front still out. I'd say the second half of this field, per se, is Ray Alfala in the 19th place position, sees a side-by-side battle in front of him between Lewandowski and Peter Bennett. Peter Bennett going to pick up a spot on Lewandowski, and now Lewandowski going to try to cross him over. Alfala to the inside of the 16 as they go side-by-side in position number 18, and this is lap 94 we're being worked, so Alfala going to move up one more here. Looks like he's going to bring the 30 of Robert Hall along with him.
He is, and this is not normal territory for somebody like Ray Alfala. He's not used to being stuck in the middle of a field. He's used to being able to slice through this field. Now, he still might be able to, but what we've seen so far tonight, Joe, when Ray gets up to about 15, 16, he really can't go anywhere. And in fact, now we have a couple of cars on pit road, including Kenny Humpy in the 58 and the number 1 of Rich Doucette. Humpy and Doucette coming down for what we assume will be the next to last stop of the day. They still have 72 laps to go. You cannot make it the rest of the way on this stop, Joe. You're going to have to come in again.
He will not be able to make it the rest of the way, but if he wants to take him better, he's going to need 4 brand new Goodyear Eagles underneath that NRT service machine. Humpy gets all 4, gets 2 tanks of fuel, and he is down and away. Rich Doucette, the exact same thing. He's going to be down and away as well. They're going to have to wait for everyone to cycle through before they get back up front, and nobody throwing out the hand just yet. I think everybody else trying to see how far they can get before they're forced to come down pit road.
Humpy back out on the racetrack, as is Rich Doucette. Tyler Hudson going into corner number 1 and being chased down by Chad Lawton in the 26. The 15 of Dylan Duval going to come onto pit road at this point too. And the one thing that's leaving me scratching my head, Tony, is the 26 of Chad Lawton on the same team as the 58 and the 1. He did not come down pit road on with his teammates per se. So I'm not sure if there's maybe differing strategies on that team at this point, but right now Chad Lawton, I guess, is content to run in position number 2, and I guess if you're chasing down the leader, why not stay out for a couple more laps and see if you can get that bonus point?
Yeah, see what you can do, and really you look back at the, I'm trying to sit here and do the math while we're seeing what's happening on the track, Tim, and you figure we went back to green on lap 51, so at that point we had 117 laps still to go. That puts you at about 58 and a half laps per run. That's on the outer limit, I think, of what some of these guys can do. But, Joe, if it's on the outer limit, I mean, if you're going to commit to that strategy, I'd at least commit to it early, because now you put yourself in a box if you're a Dylan Duval or a Kenny Humphrey or a Rich Doucette, to where you pretty much have to do one of two things. A, bank on a caution flag happening at the right time, or B, try to extend your fuel window past where really I think it reasonably can go. I'm still kind of scratching my head on this one.
Tony, you're going to have to show me how to do the math on my abacus, because I just can't figure it out for some reason. I was a communications guy, never a math major in college. Nick Ottinger now going down to pit road. He's going to go ahead and make it a 4-tire stop as well, and he's going to be the only one down there this time around. It'll be 4 tires holding in fuel. He's down the way, and now as soon as he gets off, Adam Gilliland comes down pit road. The Gary Mercer trucking machine comes down the attention of his crew. Look for him now, the exact same thing. 4 tires, fuel, and everybody's starting to be really lackadaisical about coming in, and everyone just kind of coming in at their leisure, it seems.
Yeah, a lot of different strategies at this point as Michael J. Johnson goes one more lap down, and it looks like the 26 of Chad Lawton may have been slowed up a little bit by that lapped car of Michael Johnson. He actually falls only 1 lap down, the first lap down. A lot of damage to that 39 car as your top 2 stay out on the racetrack to complete 101 on the racing surface. Bias, Overland, Lawton, or Josh Lawton, your top 5. Jake Sturgis, Justin Bolton, Mitchell Hunt, Danny Hansen, and Josh Berry, your top 10. They remain on the racetrack, as I believe the 22 car of Rob Ackley is down on pit road, Tony, to get service to his race car.
Rob Ackley actually still on the racetrack as Matt Busa coming off, or check that, yeah, Ackley is on pit road. Sorry, looking at the wrong race car. Ackley is on pit road. Matt Busa just came off the pit lane. Johnson down for service as well, as they have got 4, and he is away on the Michael J. Johnson machine. Fast Track Sims car. Remember, he was involved in an accident earlier. Tough break for Johnson. Also looks like Brian Blackford is coming down pit road, as is Brandon Day on the Plan B sales machine. Speaking of which, we talked about him last week, and he's, I guess, the season-long promo they got going right now, Joe. Use the promo code BDAY4. That's B-D-A-Y, just like Brian's saying, BDAY4 at the Plan B sales website. And that basically says, hey, I heard about you on iRacing, and they'll give you a cool discount on your diecast purchases.
That is excellent to hear, because I need to update my diecast collection with a couple 2014 paint schemes as well. Brian Day, 4 tires, full tank of fuel on that machine, and he is down and away. Also down pit roads, the 55 machine, and that is Brian Schoenberg, 33. Brian Blackford also coming off pit road is now number 40 machine of Josh Lawton, also going down pit road, and he's got a lot of people coming down with him. Cody Bias down there, Chad Lawton, Tyler Hudson, all down on pit road. A lot of guys now coming down to the attention of their crew. Mitchell Hunt, Danny Hansen, all down there. Justin Bolton down there, and now it's getting busy.
The 26 and the 01 down on pit road as well, so we'll see who comes out in between those two and see who gets a little bit quicker off pit road. The 26 of Lawton taking the right side tires, gonna go 4 tires and fuel. Danny Hansen just behind him, getting service to the Pro Geek 32. Hudson down and away, real quick pit stop for the 01. The 26 gonna follow him out as well, and it looks like, I didn't have a watch on that, Tony, but it looked like the 01 was really, really on the ball.
Yeah, Tyler has really been working on his stops, both the in laps, the out laps, and of course hitting those marks perfectly on pit road. And it doesn't seem like a lot, but Joe, those couple of tenths of a second here and there, they add up in a hurry, and they make up for big distances in the racetrack. So Tyler Hudson may be making up a little bit of ground on pit lane. And something that I just noticed a lap or so ago, looking at the track and the monitor, shouldn't be a surprise. 2 years ago, he won this race on fuel mileage. Look who's on the top of the leaderboard. Jake Sturgis. You remember, Joe, we talked about 58.5 laps we figured was the magic number you need to go. Jake Sturgis is pretty doggone close. There are 60 laps to go this time by, and he can make another lap, maybe 2 laps, and I think he'll be good to go the rest of the way. It's going to be close, but Jake Sturgis might pull it off once again.
Jake Sturgis looking for a little bit of renaissance here in the NASCAR, what used to be the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship, now the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. Jake Sturgis doing everything, what he normally does, what he's known for, getting up front, leading as many laps as humanly possible before he's forced to come in, and now he's going to come down to the attention of his crew. Couldn't hold it out much longer, and now he's going to come to the attention of his crew, and they're going to roll the dice out here on the track. Everybody behind them coming in. Now they're going to try to make this a one-stop race.
Almost a little bit of contact coming onto pit road as the 88 and the 11 nearly had a moment as Brandon Hawk slowed down to get onto pit road, but Sturgis, Overland, Cattell, and the rest of the field getting their pit stops done here, and this should cycle through our green flag pit stops on lap 109 into 110 as Sturgis down and away, quick stop for the NX number 41.
A couple more drivers, though, Tim, still being shown on the speedway. Looks like Kwame and Jay right now being shown still on the lead lap and ahead of your, what will cycle around to be your leaders. Brandon Cattell made an extra lap. He now is on pit road. So if we do the math here, Joe, it looks like the favorites, if this race continues green, to last the entire distance are going to be Sturgis, Overland, Cattell. Kwame in that 43 machine is going to be good as well. I don't know that the front runners we've seen all night can make that stretch as long as they need to. I almost think it's a gross miscalculation on their part.
They might be using my abacus. I may have lent it out to a couple guys down on pit road. Hard to say. But now we got a battle for the lead up there. The 58 machine of Kenny Humpy under fire now from the 01 of Tyler Hudson. Hudson's going to go on the inside. And Hudson wasted no time. He's going to dispatch Tyler Hudson that time by. And that will be the lead. Hudson up front. Kenny Humpy second. Chad Lawton third. Nick Ottinger fourth. It will be Rich Doucette, your top five. So now that they've cycled through everything, these guys have made it all the way through. And those guys that were up front, these guys are now going to have to play the race a little bit more difficultly because they know the guys behind them might be able to get away, going out with leaving it all on the track. They cannot.
Tyler Hudson begins to pull away. Everybody on this racetrack took the opportunity to take a green flag pit stop. We are going to do the same here on iRacing Live, and we'll be back in just a few moments' time to take you to the finish of round number 2 of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
What's inside Peak Antifreeze? 65 years of experience in hot and cold protection. From an independent, family-owned business that's never been afraid to give you exactly what's right for your engine and your wallet. Peak. Run true.
Welcome back to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Tyler Hudson is your leader, and he is up on some lap traffic. On lap 115, Brandon Bowie in the 54 to the outside of the 01, and Brandon Schmidt, who ran up front early in this event, is set to go one lap down in position number 35. Tony, I didn't catch if the 35 had something amiss on pit road, but early in this race, that last row motorsports driver was running within the top 10. He must have had something wrong there on the pit stop.
That could be the only assumption. I'm like you, Tim. I really didn't see anything that would have caused us to draw any sort of attention to him, but nonetheless, things just aren't quite working the way that they have planned. Speaking of Last Row Motorsports, actually, while we're on that subject, Jake Sturgis right now, one of the highest running groups or drivers from that team, and I don't know if this is going to be in their curriculum, but we were talking to some of the guys from Last Row Motorsports over the last couple of weeks, and Joe, they said one of the big goals they have is through their Facebook page at facebook.com/Last Row Motorsports. They're trying to help out guys trying to get started in iRacing, setups, driving techniques, so on and so forth. I wonder if Jake Sturgis' fuel mileage techniques will be on that list of things to teach.
Maybe entirely, and probably if he can win on fuel mileage here, it will definitely be something to watch for at the seminars next year. You're running a car now with that driver, and he's been just so intelligent. You know, they talk about this sport being playing chess at 195 miles per hour, and it's absolutely true. Every move you make, every approach you make, whether it be when to pass, when to hold off, when to come down pit road, when to stay out, every move is a deliberate move and to make it work and to make everything happen out there. Michael Conti forced back down on pit road once again. He came in early, and now he's going to come back through, and not sure exactly what he came through for.
Yeah, there's something wrong with that number 5 car, or at least the strategy on that must not have taken enough fuel or something along those lines. Tough break for the driver of the number 5 car who came into this evening 8th place in the point standings. Tyler Hudson, Kenny Humpy, 0.7 of a second between your top two. Then it goes back to 3 seconds between Tyler Hudson and 3rd place driver Chad Lawton. And obviously, being on the racetrack, Tony, I think Tyler Hudson extended that a little bit, but I think Chad Lawton may have had a little bit of a slower stop compared to the 01 car. We'll see if he can catch up to Kenny Humpy, who sits in position number 2. Ottinger and Bias complete your top 5, and that's a great run for the 27 car this evening. Cody Bias solidly in the top 5 all night long after qualifying in position number 2.
Yeah, so far it has been a good night for Cody Bias and crew. Him, all of the drivers in his team, they've shown some speed, they've shown some staying power at the front of the field, but I almost have to wonder again, back to that experience thing, some of these guys trying to do strategy on the fly, a couple of laps when you're in a fuel mileage situation like this one, Joe, can be the difference between success and failure. And I almost think anybody that pitted before about lap 116-ish, or check that 107-ish, if I can do my math right, they might be in trouble.
They might be in just a little bit of trouble as you see some of these guys out here continue to run the 05 machine. Nick Ottinger working to catch a 26 of Chad Lawton. In fact, he's done so, and or I should say he's not done so. He's working to do that right now, and that could be the battle for position number 3. Ottinger was running in around position number 6 before the pit stops. Now he's running position number 4, and you're starting to see the 05 wake up a little bit, knowing that time is running out. We're just over 40 laps to go here at this juncture, and Nick Ottinger, Chad Lawton, knowing what's on the line.
Yeah, it's coming down to it now. It's go time for these drivers up in front. Hudson going to come up and put a lap on the 24 of Carson McClelland as you ride on with Nick Ottinger closing in on Chad Lawton for what is position number 3.
And I think Ottinger at this point now might have to start looking at some other way to try to win this race. Or, like we talked about earlier, is trying to bank on a caution flag. But I don't see him making as many aggressive moves right now to try to make his way forward, Joe. I think now some of these front runners, like Ottinger, like a Chad Lawton, it's going to come down to conservation. Instead of trying to make the first run stretch and then go bonsai towards the end, these guys I think are going to try to stretch the last run, maybe pray for a caution flag, and see if it works in their favor. Very interesting version of 2 different strategies to see how it works out. But I think either way, you're going to have a pretty good race for the end of this one.
The number 2 of Ray Alfala trying not to let leave anything to chance as he gets right beside the level 11 machine of Brad Davies. Brad wiggling as they get through turns 3 and 4, and that will yield the position to Alfala. He now puts himself in position number 12, looking for 11 as he tries to get near that 32 of former bronze sponsor Pro-Geek Consulting, the slip angle motorsports machine of Ray Alfala, trying to get past his old sponsor there. As you mentioned it very, very eloquently there, Tony. Right now, it's all about conservation. The guys up front, there is easily about a second between each of your top 5, the exception being Chad Lawton and Nick Ottinger. But between your top 5, there's about a second between each of those guys. You run inside Ray Alfala's car now, he can't afford that liberty. He doesn't get to conserve a little bit out there. He has to drive it, and he has to work it as the 32 machine gets loose. This is exactly what Ray Alfala is trying to do here, take advantage of other people's mistakes and work his way up through this field, and then, once he gets to the top 10, maybe he can go throw it on cruise control.
And Davey's going to follow him through as well and pick up one more spot and move Danny Hansen back to position 13, and maybe one more is Josh Berry looking underneath in the 88 car, trying to pick up one spot for that team to move him into position number 13. The one thing that Joe mentioned, though, Tony, if this race does go green, you might be thinking about conserving if you're some of these teams back here. But if you're Ray Alfala, you're 12 seconds behind the leader, Tyler Hudson. How much are you thinking possibly conserving if this thing goes green and trying to push it, because you've got 4 seconds between yourself and 10th place Matt Busa?
I think you just have to go, Tim. I think when you're in the middle of the field like this and you're a Ray Alfala, you've got to just do something, and that might be to drive your heart out and pray for a caution flag. If you haven't committed yourself to a conservation strategy of some sort, be that on the opening run of this stint or the second run of this stint that we're currently in, you just simply have to go and pray for a caution flag. And, I don't know that all these guys are doing that. I think a lot of them are simply just trying to pray for a caution flag as opposed to conserving. But it's also good to see that, because now we see drivers that we haven't talked about all night long. Drivers like Josh Berry in that Speedco car for Junior Motorsports, their late model program driver, also now part of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze series, making his way forward up inside or close to the top 10. He started 36th on the night, Joe. Did Josh Berry making his way forward, looking as well at the 41 machine of Jake Sturgis. Seen him let a few guys by. I'm wondering now if maybe he is on a conservation strategy.
No conservation strategy for him. Now he's got to figure out how he's going to make that car work after making contact with the number 1 machine of Rich Doucette. You see that queued up in the box there as they go through turns 3 and 4. The 1 machine in the way of the 41 trying to make the pass. Didn't work. They end up making contact with each other. Good news for both those cars. They got those cars saved, and they got those cars running the right direction on track. Bad news for Jake Sturgis. He lost 2 positions immediately as a result of that, and now he might have some flat spots on those tires that will come into play as we turn lap after lap.
Saw that a little bit earlier with a couple of other drivers, and it looks like they will maintain some speed, at least in positions 9 and 10, and they will keep going. Danny Hansen coming onto pit road in the 32 possibly here, and I believe one car ahead of him is Rich Doucette, and he is coming onto pit road as well. So Rich obviously probably has a little bit of damage, Tony, but the 32 with Danny Hansen, I don't think he has any damage to that car. Same team as Mike Conti, though. Could that be just strategy thrown out the window, or possibly abandoning something here?
I think it comes a point where you look at it and you go, there's no way we're making up this many laps with what's left to go. There's 33, 34 laps left to go, Tim. And if you're 4 or 5 laps short, you're not going to make that up without a caution flag. And given the way this race is looking, yeah, you can wait for that yellow or maybe make a splash and go at the end of the race. Or you can come in and take the advantage of 4 fresh tires. I think maybe that's what Hansen's trying to do. Possibly even Rich Doucette. Now that he's had that issue with Jake Sturgis, trying to at least make the best of the current situation. So again, multiple strategies going on, but I still think that Jake Sturgis is going to be in the catbird seat. Speaking of guys on pit road, Kenny Humpy, the 58 machine, coming to the attention of his crew. He now going to be going to pit lane, looking for 4 tires and fuel, and that crew going to be going at a hammer and tong on top of the pit box as well, Joe.
The 58 of Kenny Humpy, he is going to be on pit road. Also, the 4 of Brian Day, the Plan B sales driver, does not want to let it go to Plan B for his team. 2 tires, flash of fuel. They are down and away, and now you're starting to see guys play this race in reverse. They do not want to be there, left holding the empty bag. The empty bag as the end of the race ends. They don't want to be down there on pit road thinking about what could have been. As everything happens around them.
And this is starting to feel like the race a couple seasons ago back in 2012, Tony, where we had a caution with about 20 to 25 laps to go, and it caught some of these drivers off guard, and it got Jake Sturgis his first and only victory in this series. Could we possibly be seeing another one of these races coming up as Tyler Hudson is in heavy lap traffic? The 29 of Kevin King just behind him and possibly about to be just in front of him as the 29 ducks underneath the leader, the 01, and then Brian Schoenberg, Rob Ackley, Byron Daly's in this pack. The Racer Boost 53 of Brandon Hawk is here as well. A lot of traffic in front of your leader. Could this turn out to be another repeat of 2012? And Tony, you mentioned some of these drivers came down pit road and took 2 tires. Kenny Humpy took 4. If you're sitting in that strategy, what do? Do you take 2 or do you take 4?
I don't know, Tim. I really don't know. And not having enough time to see how much 2 tires versus 4 tires has in fall off and maneuverability, I don't know. As far as time goes, I'm going to take 2 tires every time because you don't need 4 tires worth of fuel. You only need a splash. You only need 3 or 4 seconds worth of fuel really to make those extra 5 or 6 laps. And you look now in front of Tyler Hudson. There you see Brian Schoenberg dancing in front of him. Byron Daly up the racetrack. Those two are trying to 2-step without touching one another. And here comes Hudson. Looks like he now abandoning his strategy, or maybe his hand being forced, Joe, to where he feels he needs to come down, take advantage of 2 or 4 fresh tires, much like at Homestead last year when he and Ray Alfala played that game. Tyler came out on top, and now looks like a few other drivers maybe going to be having their hands forced before this one's over with.
Tyler Hudson at least taking 2 tires down and away. The splash and go stop for him with 2 tires. And nobody else throwing the hand out just yet. The Schoenberg gets on his radio and starts yelling at his crew about something. So the 55 of Schoenberg could be in a little bit of trouble as we speak, or he might be trying to yell at his crew, figuring out who is coming in right now, and do I need to come in down to pit road?
Tyler Hudson just got passed by the leader, Chad Lawton, Nick Ottinger, and Josh Lawton are your top 3. And that's really where it comes in, Tony. Kenny Humpy comes down, takes 4 tires. Tyler Hudson comes down and takes 2. So if this race does go green, I think we're going to see who is at the better advantage. Kenny Humpy was a little bit off compared to Tyler Hudson on those last 2 green flag runs, or last 2 green flag stints to a pit stop. We'll see if that helps Kenny Humpy at all, or if it hurts him in the long run. Tyler Hudson taking 2, Kenny Humpy taking 4. They are scored in 23rd and 24th place respectively right now, 1 lap behind the pace. Chad Lawton is your leader. He stays out on the racetrack, this time by in the JD Army number 26, and he will come across on 142 and complete that one on the racetrack. 25 laps to go.
And looking at Chad Lawton and where he pitted the last time, Joe, or Tim, he's going to have to go 63 laps roughly on this tank of fuel. Considering he only went, 55 on his last one, I don't see that happening. So he's probably going to have to come down pit road, but again, he might be banking on a caution flag. It looks like Justin Bolton coming down pit road, missing his stall. That's not good news for the Best Western number 36, Joe.
That is not going to be good news for him at all. We're going to show the replay there right now in the box, and Bolton just flat out overshoots his stall, gets a little excited down there, and that is not good hospitality for him or the team. They're going to be forced to back it up, and that is going to slow him down. Tony, Tim, you guys both mentioned earlier in the race that it's a game of seconds, and we are seeing it displayed right now. Your leader, Chad Lawton, down on pit road, looking to play that same game of seconds, hopefully with better results.
Now the 26, what does he do? Does he take 4 tires, or does he take the 2 tires like Tyler Hudson did? As we watch the 26 down onto pit road. He stops in his box. Flawless stop so far. It's going to be 2 right side tires for the 26. Do they take 4? It drops. No, they take 2. And the 26 is down and away. That was a quick stop for the JDR Graphics Chevrolet SS.
It was, Tim, and as these stops continue to cycle through, this race continues to play out. Now with 20 some odd laps to go, not a lot of time left. Nick Ottinger leads. He's got a 4-second lead over Josh Lawton, so plenty of space on the racetrack to conserve. But again, I don't think Nick Ottinger can save that much fuel in this little amount of time. Same with Josh Lawton, Matt Busa. But the guy that, as we said from the get-go of this cycle of pit stops, who's sitting in the catbird seat, that is Jake Sturgis. He's running in 4th, 3rd as the field comes around. I have a hard time betting against Jake Sturgis right now, Joe. The strategy he showed, the proof that he can go this distance, and he's fast tonight. He's not just running around 30th trying to make it last. He's been a top 10 car all night long, and he's the only one of those race-long leaders that appears to be able to stretch it.
Jake Sturgis able to make it work tonight, and we're going to see if he can make it work all the way to the end. Matt Busa on pit road overshoots his stall as well. It'll be a 2-tire and splash stop for him as he gets down and away. Let's watch 11 machine. Brad Davies in the 2 machine as Michael Johnson now comes down pit road. Brad Davies been kind of tracking the back bumper of Ray Alfalla all night. Alfalla's might going to have to come down pit road towards the end of this race, but this early in the season, I don't know if he has a whole lot to risk if he rolls the dice and tries to work it out. Let's run the roof cam of Brad Davies.
You're right on the roof of Brad Davies as he chases down the 2 of Ray Alfalla, and just a little ways in front of them, about 2 seconds in front of this 11 car, is Jake Sturgis in the 41. And guys, he's running about the same lap times as your leader Ottinger this time by, as Tyler Hudson right up on the back bumper of the Ream Chevrolet. Hudson trying to earn his lap back the hard way and put himself back on the lead lap in 18th place. Ottinger the last time by 30.28 to Josh Lawton's 30.45 to Jake Sturgis's 30.29. So Sturgis and Ottinger about the same pace right now, Tony, as it looks like Lawton maybe a little bit slower than your other 2 of the top 3 cars, so maybe he's conserving a little bit more than the rest of these guys?
He could be, Joe, or Tim, that's entirely possible, or it could just be the setups going away. It's really hard to say, but it looks like Lawton now going to be credited as the leader because Nick Ottinger, guess what? He's to his pit stall, starting pretty much shotgun on the field. He has one of his first pit stalls on pit road, and that Ream machine now down and away. Lawton now remains as the leader, 3 seconds ahead of Jake Sturgis. Sturgis has a little over a 1.5 seconds, almost a 1.75 seconds on Ray Alfalla. And as you ride on board that NX machine, this could be career win number 2 we're looking at here, Joe. And once again, because of a well-played pit strategy, a smart driver, and a smart bunch of guys helping him out on his team to figure out the mileage number that he needed to make.
Brad Mahar going to come down pit road this time by, and Jake Sturgis, he is looking like the cat who ate the canary. He is looking like the smartest man in Las Vegas right now. They say you can't beat the casino, but Jake Sturgis is at least might have beat the track out there as time runs out. The 40 is your leader. Jake Sturgis is starting to catch up as now the 88 comes down pit road, and this is going to change the complexion of things. All eyes will be on Jake Sturgis to see if he can get a second career win and go to victory lane for the second time at Las Vegas.
Barry and Mahar onto pit road as Josh Lawton continues to pace this field. 1:53 completed this time by for the 40 of Josh Lawton. And keep in mind, he is also a former winner in this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. He won, though, on a restrictor plate track back at Talladega in 2013. So you know about a wild card there, and you know about gambling at Talladega, Tony. Maybe he's trying to use something here that we don't know about. But as we mentioned, Lawton last time by 30.32, as the 40 will stay out on the racetrack this time by. Sturgis is 30.41, so they are about in the same bracket per se. Switching lap times or swapping the top lap times between the two. 30-35 to a 30-36 the last time by between your top two. So they may be on the same strategy if Josh Lawton can stretch it maybe just a little bit further than Jake Sturgis.
I just don't see that happening for Josh Lawton, though, Tim. Looking back, and you see exactly when Josh Lawton pitted. He came down pit road on at the completion of lap 104. So he would have had 63 laps to go at that point. Ray Alfalla came down. He's going to have 62 laps to go. And when you look at the next guy we've talked about, Jake Sturgis, he came down on the conclusion of lap 108, the beginning of lap 109. Again, 59 laps to the completion of the race. It's going to be tight, but again, if anybody can make it, Joe, I'm going to put my money on Jake Sturgis. He's got the shortest distance of anybody in the top 10 or 15 to go as far as on the original stop. Everybody else, for the most part, has pitted, but Sturgis still in that original set of tires, the original tank of fuel from his stop at the midway point of this run. Oh boy, it's getting exciting.
Thomas Lewandowski, Chris Overland, both running the same exact strategy as well, trying to stretch it out all the way to the end, as you see a lot of big names now dominating the top 10. Ray Alfalla now all the way at position number 3. Brad Davies 4th. Trey Edson in 6th. Peter Bennett in 5th. Brian Blackford, who pitted on the first lap of the race, now position number 8. And Landon Harrison and company in the mix. Tyler Hudson now position number 12. As we go to position number 4 with Brad Davies and Ray Alfalla, you see those two guys driving as hard as they can. Cody Bias, he's a lap down. He was leading this race at one point. He was top 5. He's now a lap down, and with 10 to go, I don't think he's going to be able to get back up there in a hurry.
Trombley and Blackford down on pit road as they will head out to the racetrack after quick pit stops for those two drivers. And guys, really the only closest battle on the racetrack was in between Brandon Hawk and Brandon Cattell, I believe at 11th and 12th, but Hawk has taken that position and has begun to drive away from that battle as the Josh Lawton machine continues to stay out on the racetrack. He will come by this time on the racetrack. If he does stay out, no, he does not. Josh Lawton down on pit road. Your leader is going to head to pit road for a splash and go. This will hand the lead to Jake Sturgis.
Now the question is, how long can he last? Will the clock strike midnight before Cinderella can get home? Or will Cinderella put the glass slipper on? And that would be Jake Sturgis here in Victory Lane at Sin City's showplace and showcase for speed, Joe, here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Jake Sturgis is rolling the dice. There is no question. But I guess if you're going to gamble, this is the right city to do it in.
No shame in gambling in Vegas, and this is the place to do it. And Davies is now going to come down pit road. Ray Alfalla up in Harris, position number 2. Trey Edson now all the way to position number 3. Kenny Humpy doing business with Shad Lawton up there. They're trying to dissect their way through the race as time runs out here. Let's run on the rear bumper of that 58 machine of Kevin Humpy. He's got some problems. 89 now around. 89 goes around. That is Landon Harrison. He's going to go down to pit road, and he's going to have some problems. Ray Alfalla going to come down pit road. 7 to go.
Ray Alfalla onto pit road in the Ford Fusion. He will stop to the attention of his crew. And the one thing that I did notice, Tony, is Peter Bennett has backed off in a big way. I think the 69 has stuck to the strategy that he is going to finish this race on the racetrack, or he's going to run out of fuel. One of the two, as Sturgis and Edson, your top 2. The 6 car is still staying out on the racetrack. Is he going to come down this time? No, the 6 car stays out. Sturgis, Edson, Bennett, your top 3 on the racetrack, but Bennett is backed off big.
And Tim, it's almost to the point now, if the caution flag comes out for an incident, Jake Sturgis, as we say, he's in the catbird seat. He is on top of the world, because then with no green-white checker, that means things are done as you watch this battle now for the 9th and the 10th spot. Kenny Humpy and Chad Lawton going at it. Humpy on the top of the racetrack trying to make things happen. Brandon Cattell is right there as well. So this is really a 3-car fight for that spot. 8th, 9th, and 10th. Almost a full hello lap behind the leader. Cattell tried pinching Chad Lawton, Joe, but it wasn't going to work for him. And Jake Sturgis, if he sees yellow right now, he wants to see yellow fever. That means he's locked himself in to a victory if he can limp it back to the finish line.
Time running out on this field, and now all eyes are on the 41 machine of Jake Sturgis. He has got all but a lock on this race. 8 seconds over Peter Bennett, 14 seconds over Tom Lewandowski. Troy Edson is going to come down pit road this time by. Tyler Hudson snuck into your top 5. Kenny Humpy's now in the top 10. Byron Daly's now in the top 10. 3 to go, and now the big question is, the $64,000 question is, whatever you want to call it, the question is, Jake Sturgis, can he make it work for the rest of this race? 3 or 2 laps to go. He is backing off as much as he can. Can he make it all the way through?
He is backing off way early, trying to conserve every little ounce of fuel that he can. Peter Bennett in second, doing the exact same thing. Thomas Lewandowski in position number 3, doing the same thing. Overland, Hudson, your top 5. We are coming to the white. 1 more lap to go for Jake Sturgis in the NX number 41 for Last Row Motorsports. In 2012, he parlayed the same strategy to victory lane for his first NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing victory. And it looks like he is going to hit the jackpot once again. The 41 car coming through 3 and 4 to his second NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing victory. Jake Sturgis to victory lane at Las Vegas. Peter Bennett, can he make the finish on fuel? He is coming at a 4, and it looks like he will make the finish line. He may not make the cool down lap, Tony, but he is out of fuel as he comes across the stripe. Lewandowski, Overland, and Hudson, your top 5.
Tim, we told you 58 and a half laps was the math that I came up with. Peter Bennett did about 59 3/4. He came down with 60 to go, sputtered, stumbled across the line, but Jake Sturgis mastered the strategy once again here in Vegas. I don't know what he does or what his technique is or what his good luck charm is, but if there's a guy I'm going to visit in the desert with, it's going to be Jake Sturgis, because that was sheer mastery of strategy, Joe. There's no question about it. Everybody else on pit road blew that strategy call, be it from the driver's seat, from the setup perspective where the gear would or would not permit them to make the run. Whatever it was, they blew that one. Jake Sturgis nailed it.
Like a camel in the desert, Jake Sturgis finds a way to conserve everything he had in that 41 NX machine, and he finds a way to make it work. He would be doing burnouts right now if there was anything left in that car. He's going to have to get the crew and everyone else he can find to help him push it back to pit road, to victory lane, because that thing is out of gas. Jake Sturgis, though, making a big statement for his second win here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway in 3 seasons. And only good things can come from here for Jake Sturgis and the 41 team.
It took 2 years, but Jake Sturgis is back in victory lane in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing. We will talk to Jake along with your top 5 finishers in just a few moments' time. We'll set up for the post-race show here at Las Vegas. Don't go away.
What's inside Peak Antifreeze? 65 years of experience in hot and cold protection. From an independent, family-owned business that's never been afraid to give you exactly what's right for your engine and your wallet. Peak. Run true.
This is where it gets difficult. This is where your name's on the line, everything's on the line. You get that one chance to go out there and put down your best performance with the most amount of pressure.
You got to take this race car, this whole new group of people, go to the racetrack, somehow impress them, and oh, by the way, you got to do it now. It's now or never.
First thing that went through my mind was like, no way.
Just be real important to try to figure out how to put the tires under him and run a smart 150 laps.
They might bump him around a little bit, but what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
everybody should enter next year's contest because you never know what could happen, man. You come out here and run top 5 in your first K&N West race. So I'm so psyched right now. This is incredible.
Welcome back to the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, round number 2 from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And what a show the drivers in this series put on this evening. Only 3 cautions, 13 lead changes, and Jake Sturgis comes out with the victory, playing a little bit of fuel mileage gamble to take away his second win in this series 2 years following his first at Las Vegas in 2012. Peter Bennett comes from 32nd to finish in position number 2. Thomas Lewandowski comes from 34th to finish in 3rd. Your Pro Series champion Chris Overland finishes in position number 4 and had the fastest lap time of the race. Tyler Hudson, your series champion, comes home in position number 5. Chad Lawton, Kenny Humpy, Brandon Hawk, Brandon Cattell, and Nick Ottinger, your top 10. Down in victory lane, Joe Cortez with driver 41, Jake Sturgis.
Jake Sturgis just a little tired after having to push that car with the help of his crew to victory lane, but celebrating nonetheless. And Jake, 2 years, it's been 2 years in the making, but you're back here in victory lane on the exact same play you pulled to get your first win 2 years ago at the exact same speedway.
Yeah, I guess I have a lot of luck at this track. I've always really liked Las Vegas, and 2 years ago it worked out a little different. I pitted when a lot of people stayed out and just managed to stretch it out long enough and get a yellow. This year I really ran up front a lot more. I was in the top 10 most of the race, and I was just, from the drop of the green, I was saving fuel and trying to make it on 2 stops, and we got a yellow. Came down, took 4 tires, filled it up, went back out. Managed to stay in the top 10 for a while, but from that last green run I was saving as soon as I exited my pit box there, and I knew the numbers I had to hit. I knew the lap I had to pit on, and I just can't believe it lasted. Had 0.1 gallons left at the line there. I was sputtering across the line. If one little thing had gone different, maybe I wouldn't ended up in victory lane there. I got into Doucette in the last run, and I felt bad about that. I really wasn't even trying to race him. I knew he was on a different strategy. I just caught up so fast, and I had my car shut off. And once I started to get into him, it wasn't much I could do. I just locked up the brakes. So sorry to Rich. But can't thank the guys at LRM enough for building such a fast car. It's mostly was a team effort there, but my brother PJ went out and found a lot in the setup the other night, and he doesn't deserve a last place finish for that setup he built. So it was great to get in victory lane there, and really want to thank my team Lastro Motorsports and NX Racing for all the hard work that we put in, and well, I just can't believe I won.
At what point, maybe you can't really answer this question articulately, but at what point did you know? Did you say, if everything works out exactly perfectly, if the stars align and the planets are correctly in position, I can make this race on one stop? At what point did you make that call, and at what point did you say, if it doesn't, I got to own up to this?
Well, I was dedicated to trying to make it work from the drop of the green flag there on that last run, and as soon as I saw guys pitting around lap 103, 104, 105, I knew I was good till lap 108, and I knew I'd have to save a lot on that last run to make 59 laps, I believe it was. And as soon as I saw everyone pit and I was leader there before I pitted, I knew I had a good shot at it. And from there on, I was just trying to hit my marks, keep the car clean, save as much fuel as I could, because I knew it was going to be really close.
Really close it was. If this race had ended under any other situation, if a yellow flag had come out, if the race ended under yellow, would there have been a similar or the exact same finish for you and the 41 team?
Well, I was praying for no yellow there once I knew I was good to the end. As soon as we got 5 to go, I knew I had it in the bag as long as I could make it to the line there. And we had a yellow at any point there. With more than probably 10 to go, we would have all had to pit, take 4 tires, and who knows what would have happened there. Anything can happen packed into these races. Usually on the restarts, people with old tires spin them up and carnage ensues. So it was really nice to stay green there and run it out.
Jake, still a long season ahead of you in Front Row Motorsports. As you look to the rest of the season, what does it bring to you? And after this win, how much more confidence does this give you going into the rest of the season?
Oh, it gives us a lot of confidence. Front Row Motorsports is a NASCAR team. We're Last Row Motorsports here on iRacing. We used to fill up the last rows in the races, but we've really improved here. This is Last Row Motorsports year, and even without Joey Brown, our strongest setup maker, he's off at school for his air traffic control. He'll be back maybe the next race or the race after, and he was our main setup guy. He's a guru there. He's a genius with setups on iRacing. So even without him, we were able to come out here and pick up a win. Some of the other guys picked up some slack on the setup, and I think it gives us a lot of momentum going from here.
Jake, lots of stickers, lots of people making it work for you. Anyone you want to give particular thanks to?
Well, big thanks to the guys at Last Row Motorsports, NX Racing, V Racing, Sim Room for all the support, and really big thanks to my brother for tweaking the setup and all the other guys on Last Row Motorsports. Without them, I wouldn't be in victory lane. I'd probably be in dead last.
Jake Sturgis working strategy to his advantage, and he now finishes the second career win at the same place he got his first, Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Jake, I'm sure you guys are going to be all singing Viva Las Vegas tonight.
Oh, we'll be singing all right. I don't think I'll be able to sleep, so, wow, I don't know what to say.
Jake Sturgis getting the big win. We'll see you in 2 weeks when we go racing back here on PSR TV. Tony Stevens has caught up with our second place finisher, Peter Bennett.
90 miles, 60 laps is what Peter Bennett ran on his final fuel stint. And Peter, it's probably a good thing it wasn't 90 and a half, because that car was sputtering. It was running out of fuel. It had very little, if anything, left, it looked like, when you crossed the stripe. Did you know you could go that long? How much did you believe you were actually gambling when you timed that pit strategy out?
Well, like Jake, I'm kind of always looking for fuel strategy, and I knew I had 120 laps to go, and I knew we could get about 56 laps on a tank, and I knew that I was capable of making it. So there was really no doubt in my mind, especially when I saw a lot of people short pitting throughout the race, that I was going to be okay making it, and that I was going to pick up some spots. I really started too far back in the field at the beginning of the stint there. I know Jake probably started up in the top 10. I was outside the top 20, so I really didn't have a shot at catching him. I was riding with Thomas Lewandowski for a while. I figured he'd be saving too. And, you know, I was just trying to be patient and hoping that a caution wouldn't come out, and I got really lucky.
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, especially in Las Vegas, because they don't ask you how you got the check from the casino. All they care about is that you did get the check from the casino. We've kind of known you, like you said, to be a fuel strategy type of guy. Is that something you come into the race automatically looking for, or is that something that you and your team have become accustomed to looking for in the middle of the race?
We're certainly aware of it. I know I stole a win the last season finale at Homestead on fuel strategy. Jake has won here before on fuel strategy, so we're kind of becoming known as the fuel strategy team. You know, for me, I've never been, you know, I'm never going to beat a guy straight up on speed and win a race here at DWC at this level, at least. I mean, maybe one day I will, but I'm always looking for any advantage I can get. You know, using my mind over my foot is probably something that I do in real life as well. So, you know, that's something we're always looking for, and hopefully we can do it again.
I think that's a line a lot of racers can take to heart. Use your brain over your foot. It can get you a lot further in a lot of situations. Peter, what does this now do for you looking at the rest of the season? You get a solid run. You mentioned winning Homestead last fall at the end of the season. Now you come out and you run second in the second race of the year. Does it change your mindset now for the rest of the season and kind of what your goals are? Or is this just one of those little high points you kind of put on the wall and look at and say, if I can repeat that once or twice, I'd be happy?
Yeah, well, I really would like to pick up where I picked off up last season. I got 7th in points last season and 4 top 5s. So if I could do that again, I would definitely be happy with that. I got 1 top 5 so far. I didn't really do too well at Daytona to start the season, so I'll probably be about middle of the pack in points. I'm just going to try to take away races, finish up in the top 10, 15 every race, complete every lap. That's my goal. And I do expect a lot out of this season. I definitely feel I'm capable of competing for a top 5 spot in points. So, we'll see how it turns out.
So all you can do is see where the cards fall and how exactly the chips lie on the table once everything is dealt out. I think more bad Vegas puns can be fit in one interview. Nonetheless, I know that you got a lot of people that help you out, and much like Jake, you guys have a lot of people that are in common, I'm sure, but who all helps you get to where you are at a week like this?
Last Row Motorsports, they're, in my opinion, one of the best teams in iRacing. Great group of guys, and I love, working with them on and off the track. They're a great group. Other than that, my sponsors, Bullet Motorworks, which is RC Engines, Crimson PC. If you're looking for a computer, iRacing computer, check out crimsonpc.com. Elliot Henderson Graphics, he painted my scheme. Looks great. And the Lone Wolf Super Late Model Series that runs on Sunday nights.
Well, Peter, congratulations again on a solid second-place finish. We'll look forward to seeing Peter Bennett in a couple of high-running situations, I'm sure, as this season plays out. Third-place guy, another guy that whose name, well, we haven't talked about a whole lot in races past, but Tim Terry, looks like you and Thomas Lewandowski have some catching up to do.
And he finished in the top 5 at Daytona. He's going to finish top 5 here. He's going to be close to that point lead that Kenny Humpy holds leaving this Las Vegas Motor Speedway. But let's talk about that strategy, Tom. You last pitted on lap 108, 109. When was that commitment made when we dropped the green flag at about lap 50 that we really had to gamble to get this thing to the end?
I knew going during that pit stop, one under caution, that I was going to, try to go for it. It was about that time of the race where everything kind of settles down a little bit. And I knew it'd be a little tough making it on fuel all the way, but I'm pretty good with saving fuel. And it really wasn't stretching it that far. So I kind of, started saving fuel right off, from the green flag right there.
And how big was it at the start of this race? You started 34th. You had to dig yourself out of a little bit of a hole after that qualifying session.
Yeah, I didn't have a very good qualifying session. I just had a big push off turn 4 and just had to commit to the lap because I didn't think I could stop before the start-finish line. But I know we had a really good race setup. We put a lot of work into it. And as tough it is to pass here, at the start of the race, I kind of just, picked them off one at a time and knew if I was patient, I could get up to the front.
With Daytona being what it is, with the wild card, a little bit of a gamble per se. You head to Las Vegas, you gamble on fuel, you finish in the top 3. How big is that to come out second in the point standings, unofficially 4 points behind the leader, Kenny Humpy, going in to this upcoming stretch of races?
Oh, it's great, to start out the year this strong. Really, kind of sets up the year, the rest of the year. So, 2 top 5s is, I couldn't really ask for anything better. This is probably the best start I've had to the season so far. And, just looking to carry the momentum, through the rest of the year.
We head to a racetrack in 2 weeks that this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series has not been to, an Auto Club Speedway. For those that are watching and have followed this series, what do we expect out of the Auto Club Speedway? And for the first time, what are you hoping for to get something out of the 16 car?
Going into the race, it's going to be pretty interesting, I guess. The track's, pretty bumpy, and with how these cars drive, it's going to be a real challenge to get them really hooked up in the race. So, I'm just going to kind of get a setup I feel, comfortable with, and, hopefully, we leave there with hopefully another top 5.
You got some great colors on this Ford Fusion this season, and I know you got some teammates as well that help you get to this 3rd place finish this evening. Who makes it happen for the 16 car?
Absolutely. I couldn't, I got to thank all my, teammates and people I work with, Brad Davies, Jason Loafing, Michael Conti, Brian Schoenberg, all those guys at J Show and Joe Lyle, we put a lot of work into the car. And of course, I have to thank my sponsor, RCRL. Dave was actually on TeamSpeak, on the J Show TeamSpeak for the race, and just glad I can get a third place finish for him. And also like to thank JD Laird for painting the car. He always does amazing paint jobs for me, and that's who all makes it happen for me. And just gotta really thank all those guys because it's a lot of work, and I'm really glad to start the season off this good.
That's Thomas Lewandowski, 2 top 5 finishes to start off this season. 4th at Daytona. You have 3rd here at Las Vegas. And we'll look for another great finish at the Auto Club Speedway coming up in 2 weeks' time. Joe Cortez has caught up with the NASCAR iRacing.com Pro Series champion finishing in P4 this evening, Chris Overland.
The champion started 3rd, finished 4th, and Chris, top 5 seemed to be in the cards from the start. Did you guys feel the same way coming into the race tonight?
Oh yeah, we were thinking after that abysmal run at Daytona that we needed something to get us right back in from the start, and really needed some momentum. So me and all the guys at Last Row Motorsports spent an incredible amount of time on this setup, and we apparently got the fuel mileage game down pretty good. I don't know what setup change made that happen, but it just worked out in our favor. And I know I sped on pit road there, and I was beating myself up. Maybe we hadn't have done that. We might be the one doing the burnouts and not Jake. But really happy for him and all the guys at LRM. So,
Chris, you had some electrical problems at the beginning of the race that made it a little dangerous for you out there to begin this race. Did you ever worry? Were you ever concerned that at any given time something could screw up, something could switch off there, and what would have been a good run with a good setup that your team had developed, it could have all gone away if those electrical problems continued?
I was actually unaware of that. That's oh no, that's not good. I had no idea. No one had said anything to me about it, and I certainly didn't notice anything that would have warranted something like that to, come in my mind. But there's not. I mean, we ended up fine, so no, I wasn't really worried about that. I was more worried about how loose the car was at the start of the run and how we were going to make it on fuel, and stuff race car drivers worry about.
All just the details, right?
Yeah, just every single thing that could possibly go wrong was on my mind, but no, not that.
Strategy seemed to really be one of the things that made or break this race. How did your pit strategy work for you and ultimately help you get to where you were, finishing 4th tonight?
Well, it was actually my fault because I won't say it's my fault, but I had messed up. I was doing the math in my head, and I had made me think that we could make it no matter what, and I had cut it 10 laps shorter. But had I not made that mistake, I might have pitted earlier instead of saving, because I had no idea we could go that far on fuel. But I was thinking, no, we're good, and did the math again with like 20 laps left to go in that run, and I thought, oh man, we're not good. So we just started saving, and I think that it all just worked out. I don't really know.
2 weeks' time, we're going to go to Auto Club Speedway. We've been to Michigan, but we've never been to Auto Club. What are your thoughts? Nervous? Excited? What are you thinking for 2 weeks' time?
Well, Auto Club, I got a chance to try it out actually the other day in the trucks, and that is a very fun track, and it promotes really close racing. I think the important thing is going to be keeping a car that doesn't wear the tires and runs the bottom really well, because the bottom seems to be pretty dominant there. But no real worries. This Last Row team's done amazing things the past, 3-4 months through the Pro Series and through the start of the DWC season. And as long as I'm working with them, and as long as we're working as a machine that we always do, we should be fine no matter where we go.
I know Last Row Motorsports giving you a lot of support in tonight's race. Who else makes it work for you in the 47 team?
Gotta thank the Hard Driving Radio Network and Double Clutch. They've been the greatest sponsors I've ever had. And I say this every time. Eddie Walczyk, all the guys at Last Row Motorsports. I want to say hi to Joey Brown, who's probably watching right now. He's not racing at the moment. He should be back in time for Texas, which is good. Congrats to Jake on the win. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys.
Chris Overland finishing fourth tonight in the number 47 double clutch machine. Chris, great run tonight. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yep, see you guys soon.
And Tony Stevens caught up with our sixth place finisher, Chad Lawton.
Yes, sixth place finisher Chad Lawton trying to get a hold of Tyler Hudson. Apparently this is not a good day for technology involving yours truly. We won't even go there. So Tyler having some problems with that right now. So we weren't able to quite get a hold of him. Next best guy, Chad Lawton. And Chad, for a guy that stepped away from the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze series for a while and to come back and have runs like this, what does that do for you?
It's definitely a confidence booster. But the setup was freaking awesome today. Everyone at One Up put together a good little piece. Definitely, me and Tyler, I'm pretty sure we're the class of the field. 40 laps on, I don't think anyone had anything for us. But a good run, a strong run by the One Up guys, and a good finish. And looking forward to California.
First time, as Joe talked about a little bit earlier, that we've been to Auto Club Speedway. What are you expecting? Because that racetrack is kind of special to you, is it not?
It is my hometown track. I guess you would say it's the closest track to me, minus, Oval. Sonoma would be closer to me and my brother Josh. But California, I haven't ran the A car on there at all. I ran some truck and I think a nationwide car there. But just from the looks of it and the big old 1 and 2, I think there's going to be a lot of crossovers, a lot of people backing up their entrance into 1 and getting on the gas earlier than the guy that was passing them. And I think there's going to be a lot of crossovers. Could be a little exciting, but I'm kind of looking forward to it.
I think it's going to be a fun race. I don't think anybody questions that at all. It's certainly going to be different. Now that you've got a couple of races under your belt this season, what kind of goals have you put up for yourself, or for that matter, maybe adjusted 2014 Peak Antifreeze Series?
I'm actually going into this season a lot more confident than I did when I ran the Pro Series. I think that was in 2012. I think I won 4 races, but I think I burnt myself out so much going into that DWC season or last year that I wasn't really into it. And I had to miss a few races because of the military. But this season, I feel more confident than I've ever felt going into, I guess you'd say, the sim race, sim racing this year. I just feel real confident in my ability and the group of people I have supporting me. But my goals mostly is I can almost guarantee you we're going to have top 10 cars every single week, minus those super speedways, but I don't know if we run another one because that's all a toss-up. But I can guarantee you we'll have top 10 cars, me and Tyler Hudson, for the rest of the season, and we're gonna go for that championship, that's for sure.
That's all you can do. Who all does make it happen for you in the 26 crew?
Everyone from One Up. I kind of left the team over there with Rich and Kenny. Those guys are great friends of mine, but came over to One Up with Jared and a good group of people that are on often and I enjoy running with. But most of everyone on One Up, you guys know who you are. There's too many people to go down the list. Viper Technologies, Matt Meach Racing, PSR TV, thanks for putting on this broadcast. Peak Antifreeze for sponsoring the series, and that's about it. I appreciate you guys' time, and move on to next week.
Chad Lawton, 6th place finisher here tonight at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Tim?
Final thoughts before we close off the show. And Tony, it was a fantastic race at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and it seems like every time we come here, it always puts on a great show. And for the second time in 3 years, it is Jake Sturgis coming away with the victory. Fuel mileage always comes into play, and next week we head into an unknown per se, at least for this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. It's the Auto Club Speedway.
It's going to be fun, Tim. We're going to see cars doing things that maybe we haven't seen before because it is the inaugural race for the series at that particular facility. We're going to see things, like we said, a worn-out racetrack, a track lacking in grip. We might see guys up top, on the bottom. We might see guys just running into each other. We don't really know what to expect in California at the Auto Club Speedway, but it's going to be fun to see exactly what happens. And we might see a race kind of like this one where it plays out. You got passes for the lead and guys coming and going through the field. And then ultimately, Joe, it could turn into a pit strategy and a fuel mileage race. We really don't know. But if it's anywhere near as entertaining as this one was, I don't think we'll have any reason to be disappointed.
What we've seen tonight, what we've learned from the past two races we've run so far, the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing.com, is the fact that this year's talent pool is the deepest that it's ever been. In the 5 years we've run this series, the talent pool is deeper than it's ever been. Now we're going to take the deepest talent pool we've had, the best group of drivers that we've ever had, and take them onto a track they've never been to before at this level of competition. 43 drivers will enter. We've run its cousin, its facsimile, if you will, in Michigan, but never the actual Auto Club Speedway itself. 43 drivers will enter it. Only one can stand on top, and the one that adapts to that race the best will come out the winner. It's going to be a very, very entertaining evening of iRacing. It's a race that if you miss every other race in the season and can only watch one more race, this will be the race to watch, because we are going to just really see definition. And this race, guys, you quote me later, but I think this race coming up at Auto Club, new race, new talent pool, it could be the defining race of the season.
And with the point standings shaken up the way they are, albeit we are only 2 races into the season, but Kenny Humpy, Tom Lewandowski, Brandon Cattell, Jake Sturgis, Chad Lawton, top 5 in the standings. We still have 15 races to go. We have 1 drop to factor in to the point standings as well. That will change as we continue on through this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze season, powered by iRacing.com. We mentioned 2 weeks' time we're going to be live here from the Auto Club Speedway, but before we do, the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series will be headed to Interlagos this Saturday morning, so you'll definitely want to tune in to iRacing Live and PSR TV for the coverage of round number 2 of the World Championship Series on the roadside for iRacing. That will be a fantastic show. You'll want to be here for that on Saturday morning. And once again, 2 weeks' time, our inaugural race at Auto Club Speedway, which will mark round number 3 of 17 on the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. That's going to do it for us from Las Vegas. Congratulations to Jake Sturgis on scoring his second NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing victory. So for all of us here at iRacing Live and PSR TV, Zach Stanko, Ilka Happala, Ian Bushing, Matt Racing Kid Thomas, Chuck Johnson, Joe Cortez, Tony Stevens. My name is Tim Terry, saying we'll see you in 2 weeks' time when we say let's go racing at the Auto Club Speedway. Keep the hammer down, and we'll see you at the track.
What's inside Peak Antifreeze? 65 years of experience in hot and cold protection. From an independent, family-owned business that's never been afraid to give you exactly what's right for your engine and your wallet. Peak. Run true.
This is where it gets difficult. This is where your name's on the line, everything's on the line. You get that one chance to go out there and put down your best performance with the most amount of pressure.
You got to take this race car, this whole new group of people, go to the racetrack, somehow impress them, and oh, by the way, you got to do it now. It's now or never.
First thing that went through my mind was like, no way.
Just be real important to try to figure out how to put the tires under him and run a smart 150 laps.
They might bump him around a little bit, but what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Everybody should enter next year's contest because you never know what could happen, man. You can come out here and run top 5 in your first K&N West race. So I'm so psyched right now. This is incredible.